It's Friday. I'm feeling quite like myself. And for nearly a year, we've been hosting the show together. Again, Benjamin Akakwa was copying my color this morning. Welcome to the AM show.
I don't know what it is, but she's almost always in the color.
You are almost always in the color.
You know what I told those in the back room?
What did you tell them?
I told them it's either you're a witch or I'm a wizard. Because I don't know how we do this. Like, it's so unplanned.
I mean, we do this all the time. Why? How? Benjamin,
I think spirits connect and spirits communicate, because I can't. Do you know? I mean, there have been previous instances with other, co-hosts, and the same thing happens.
Well, I dress.
But I think with you, it's been
consistent from January till now. But away from that, we'll be telling you why this morning it is absolutely worth waking up for the AM show. Of course, it's 64 more days to go for the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Welcome aboard the AM show. Of course, we'll start with the AM news, and then we'll get into our news review segment. And then we'll bring you AM Sports. Now, who's joining us for the news review segment this morning? We have Kwame Nkrumah-Botio, the Secretary of the Independent Committee of the CPP. We also have Dr. Paul Grebwachi-Dankwa, spokesperson on governance and security, and Philemon La from the NDC communications team joining us to get into the newspaper review. And of course, on Fridays, the one thing to always look forward to is Benjamin Akakwa's Blunt Thoughts. What are we expecting today?
Well, for a while now, for about a month, I've been talking about one thing: Galamsey.
Galamsey. I like that from last week. Yeah.
So, and that is actually Professor Apiaje Etia's term. I'm going to continue on that trajectory. Today, I'm going to be talking about not just what it's doing to our cocoa, but some of the commentary around it from the NDC, from the MPP, and how it doesn't really add value to the conversation. Yesterday, a prominent member of this administration posted something on social media and deleted it. Well, we still have the receipts. We still have the records. I don't necessarily need to go after this person, but such commentary is what I'm going to be delving into this morning for my blunt thoughts.
And after that, of course, we'll bring you our big stories. And this morning, the Ghana Health Service is urging public to remain vigilant as it records 230 suspected cases of mooch across 88 districts, with one death confirmed. We will go to the Ghana Health Service for details and updates on that.
All right, and that's going to be our first belt. Of course, Mpox is the scourge of the country now in all 16 regions. We'll find out what exactly is happening. But from there, we'll also interact with Dr. Abu Sakara Foster of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, who is questioning the EC for muting the voices of independent candidates at the IPAC. He's also been talking about the protesters and everything that has happened in between. We'll be having him right here today to share his thoughts with us.
So, folks, welcome aboard the AM show. Of course, you want to join us with your comments and your thoughts, either when we open the phone lines at the tail end of the show, or right now, follow us from now to 10 a.m. on social media, Joy News on TV, and let the comments flow. Let's start now with the AM news, and I'll be anchoring that. And this is the AM News with me, Sweetie Abochi. Let's get into the details. And hundreds of people have been protesting on the streets of Accra, calling for the release of the detained demonstrators and also calling on the government to deal with the Galamsey menace. Spokesperson of the Office of the Attorney General, Isaac Wilberforce Mensa, who received a petition from the concerned citizens against Galamsey, has assured the protesters that the AG will receive their petition. Wilberforce Mensa commended the protesters for fighting a good cause, indicating that the AG will not oppose to a bail application for the 53 remanded protesters when next they appear in court. Kenneth Jesse has more.
Well, the demonstration that started from Legon Stadium at Okponglo, passing through many principal streets of the capital city in demand for the release of the 53 remanded protesters and an end to Galamsey has come to an end. This is the first of 3 days of such protests that these young men and women are undertaking. And of course, we engaged most of them who expressed the reasons why they have decided to take part in this demonstration.
This is the state of water bodies in the central region. In fact, this one, I sourced it from the Ofen River at Dunkaonofen. The Ofen River joins the Praia River. The Praia River serves majority of the dwellers in the central region. It means that we are all at risk. So I found it needful to be part of this all-important call to demand for our leaders to take action and clamp down on illegal miners.
What we are drinking, this is what we are drinking. Please, Akufo-Addo, Ghana government, say something. Please, please, say something.
President don't stick bets, but he's taking best stars from us. The president, they've messed everything. See, Galamsey is killing. He's killing a lot of people. Now go to Kolebu Hospital and check everything that's going on. They must do something. They have to release the those they've arrested. They have to release them immediately.
That day, what flag, what right did the Ghana police have to come and attempt to tow our car away? What right, what legal right did the police have to tow our car away?
Mensa is polluting our water bodies. It was predicted that in 2030, we will be importing water. How many of us can afford to import water? How many of us can afford to import water? Me, I can't afford to import water. Oh.
A petition was formally presented to the office of the Attorney General, which was received by the spokesperson of that office, Wilberforce Mensa.
We want to also say that from our side, as officers of the Attorney General's office, we stand with you in the sense, or we fight your fight with you in the sense that we are also prosecuting all those whose dockets have come to us in respect of Galamsey and illegal mining. That is what we can do in respect of our mandate in the Constitution. That is what we can do. He has indicated very clearly that he's aware of the various applications that have been filed for in respect of bail, and he will look at each application on a case-by-case basis, and do not be surprised that we'll go to court and many of these applications will not even be opposed.
Of course, this is a 3-day demonstration which continues on Friday and ends on Saturday. So from the car park of the Accra Sports Stadium, my name is Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
Still on the matter, lawyer for the applicants, Francis Javier Sosu, has been speaking to Joy News. He says that they expect the court to ensure the applicants get justice.
We are saying that several rights have been violated with respect to these protesters. For example, a lot of them were unlawfully arrested. Some were just bystanders. They were not involved in anything or any illegality when they were all bundled together. And when they were held, were not given meals as they're supposed to be given in detention. They continuously were changing their places of detention, so they would deny them access to their family members and their lawyers, which violates their rights to, fair trial and so on and so forth. They've been subjected to all kinds of dehumanizing treatment, seriously violated by the state. And so this action is simply to ask the court to make declarations to that effect, and possibly, where necessary, the court awards adequate compensation for those violations. And not only that, we are hoping that as the regular criminal matter goes on, all the issues that border on bail, because we in this action are even saying that denying them of bail also violates their rights, because under Article 19 of the Constitution, every person arrested is supposed to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. But what is happening in this state is that we are treating these protesters, ordinary protesters, as if they are hardened criminals and denying them the right to bail in violation of the Constitution of Ghana.
Now, the National Labour Commission is set to summon organised labour over its intended strike action, industrial action, on October 10th. The Trades Union Congress has declared an indefinite nationwide strike on Tuesday, following the expiration of a 1-month ultimatum to government to declare a state of emergency on all illegal mining activities. The latest unions to declare their readiness for the strike are GPRTU and the Concerned Drivers Association. 3 days after organized labor declared the nationwide strike for 10th October, Executive Secretary of the NLC, Ofosu Asamoah, speaking to Joy News yesterday, said the NLC is yet to receive a strike notice from organized labor.
When you look at the reason they have given for this fight, that is the environmental, it's one of a national issue. It is not directly linked with the welfare of their members, as unions are set up to do, to seek the welfare of their members through negotiation, arbitration, this with their employees and so on. But this one, they are fighting a national, concern, right? So properly, you can't situating it in the Labor Act is difficult, right? But then, the only reason for which Labor Commission is able to come in, right, is the declaration of the strike. Organized labor could have pressured the government or pursued their cause in other ways. You can decide to go and sleep in the street, organize series of demonstrations, picket at the Jubilee House, picket at the ministry, or picket at wherever, Minerals Commission, wherever they want to do, right? They can petition chiefs, they can call on the citizens for action and so on, right? That one, Labor Commission will not be interested. But with the declaration of the strike, that workers from on the 10th of this end, you are declaring a strike, people will not go to work and so on. That is where Labor Commission comes in.
So what have they done? Have they notified you of the strike and have not served a certain complaint? Which one do you have now?
We haven't received any formal notification of the strike from a group called Organized Labor led by TUC. But like I said, there are some unions within the Organized Labor who has written. But you see, they came together under one umbrella. That's Organized Labor. So we expected that the right to us. We received a letter from, I think, CLOSAC some time ago, yeah, also referred, but not as Organized Labor.
According to the Executive Secretary of NLC, 3 days after organized labor through TUC declared a nationwide strike, organized labor has not yet served notice of its intended strike on October 10th. Meanwhile, the National Labour Commission is set to invite organized labor. And the Executive Secretary says he is not surprised to the current strike happening in the country.
Yes, we'll be inviting them. But I'm aware that a lot of meetings are going on behind the scenes with them. You know, earlier on, the government tried to engage them, engage the leadership of organized labor, except that they could not arrive at a negotiated settlement. Later, the government took one more step by forming the ministerial committee of about 5 ministers, I suppose, to assess the efforts of government into the stopping of this Galamsey menace. I am not privy to the content of whatever report that has been issued, if there is any at all. But I know that the government has taken certain steps, except that to the organized labor, that is not satisfactory enough. But what they want is that there should be a ban on mining, on all forms of mining, a declaration of a state of emergency. That is where the problem is with them now.
Honorable, personally, are you quite surprised at all of these strikes happening, especially at the time?
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, this is a recurrent. If it were in accounting, they say a recurrent expenditure. They okay. I mean, when it's getting to elections, especially when the term of the government is coming to an end, people may have negotiated with the government for certain benefits, either salary increments, some allowances, some this thing, and the end is just about 60 days away. They think that this is the time to get a pound of flesh, because if, assuming MPP wins, right, it will be under new leadership. The present crop of ministers may not be there, the president will not be there, the vice will not be there, so that even assuming if you even want to continue, you now have to begin. So people think that, yes, this is the man sitting there, this is the man I negotiated with, this is the man who promised me, so he must meet through before he goes. And there are some of them too, timelines were established, of course, which has not been met. So this is the time everybody will push for it. I remember President Kufuor saying that in times like this, even the dumb find their voice.
In other stories, the government is expanding the Ghana landscape restoration and small-scale mining projects with the aim of intensifying land restoration efforts in the country. Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Mensa says the project extension is a crucial step towards addressing the environmental degradation caused by small-scale mining activities. Nana Bwachi Yadom has more in this report.
The Ghana Lands Restoration and Small-Scale Mining Project, which was initially launched to restore degraded lands and promote sustainable small-scale mining practices, has been successful in its initial phase. The project has helped to restore thousands of hectares of land, created jobs, and improved the livelihoods of local communities. During a tour of some beneficial districts in the Ashanti region, the Environment Minister, Mensa noted despite the progress made, more needs to be done to address the scale of environmental degradation in the country.
I think their capacity has been built, and so they are calling for an extension, and people want us to extend our frontiers by 7 other farmers. And so in going forward, I think we are also going back, put up our reports, and then look for more funds to assist more farmers do such projects, for us to reclaim all the degraded lands and then also restore some of the nutrients that we've lost in the soil. It's very impactful, and the benefit is not only to the farmers but to Ghana as a nation and as a whole. This is because I think globally we are fighting climate change, and then planting of the trees and then greening our environment is part of the control measures to control climate change issues. And so I think it's very impactful, and so we want to encourage more farmers to plant the trees for us to be able to control the climate change. Because in getting more trees and greening, that is where we can build up our carbon that will control the depletions up there.
The extension of the project will enable the government to scale up its efforts and cover more areas affected by small-scale mining. Some farmers appreciated the government's efforts to help reclaim their degraded lands.
Makome nimbebri ko last year na project ne ba en me fra enkura nkwansia a metu yomoka this year ya me ne moka se me fra enkura nwotwe a ono zo metu yomoka nti ama emo bia is me kuma nimbebri.
The farmers are, however, hoping to access fertilizers and other compensation to be productive. The minister says some concerns raised by the farmers will be addressed while efforts are being made to extend the project.
I think for the past 2 days we've been on the field, and it's so exciting. Apart from 1 or 2 complaints, which is normal, and we've assured them that that fund is on its way very soon. They will have access to it. Everybody is excited, and they've learned so much, and now they are growing mixed cropping and all that.
For Joy News, Nana Bwachi Yadom, Kumasi.
Moving on, over 38,000 children in the Upper West region are expected to receive 4 doses of the malaria vaccine. This was disclosed by the Upper West Regional Director of Health, Dr. Damien Pungri, at the launch of the malaria vaccine implementation and measles rubella supplemental immunization programs. He added that 155,484 children are also expected to be vaccinated against measles and rubella. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Pungri, disclosed that 38,871 children from all 11 municipalities in the region benefits from the exercise every year. Under the malaria vaccine implementation program, the children are expected to receive 4 doses of the vaccine from health facilities in the region between 6 to 18 months. Highlighting the importance of the vaccine implementation program, Dr. Pungri stated that malaria vaccine reduces the number of times a child gets malaria and its severity. He noted that a child who received the malaria vaccine may still get malaria but will be less severe or milder, urging parents to complement it with other methods of preventing malaria, such as the use of mosquito insecticide-treated nets. Dr. Pungiri then turned to measles rubella, describing it as dangerous and contagious. He averred that since 2024, they have not recorded a single confirmed case of childbirth with measles. He however spoke of recent changes in the trend.
The country and the Upper West regions have had higher numbers of confirmed cases of measles and rubella among children under 5. And this is due to the buildup of large numbers of unvaccinated children in the population, either as a result of not being able to reach out to these children or vaccine shortages. As you recognize, there has been an influx of population, especially into our region. Some of the children remain unvaccinated. To interrupt the spread of the disease, immunization coverage must be improved through supplemental immunization activities, in addition to the routine immunization. So every child coming to our clinics at 9 months and at 19 months, they are given the measles vaccine. But this is to catch up those who have missed their doses.
Let's do some election stories. Of course, we are your election headquarters. And the NDC presidential candidate, John Dramani Mahama, has expressed confidence in Ghana's judiciary, stating that although the NPP is packing the courts in hopes of escaping future accountability, he believes the country's judges will act with the right conscience. Speaking on the second day of his tour of the Northeast region, he noted that NDC is determined to break 8 years of corruption and economic mismanagement, where he expressed confidence in Ghana's judiciary, reiterating that although the NPP is packing the courts with the hope of avoiding accountability, he believes the judges will act with integrity.
It's not going to be easy because of the mess into which this government has plunged us. But we're going to spend the early years stabilizing the economy and stabilizing the currency. We left the CD to the dollar at 4 CDs to $1. Today, you need 16.7 CDs to get $1. Inflation has eaten into everybody's pocket. And those who trusted government and bought government bonds, today they have lost their money. They closed the banks, sacked a lot of professional bankers. Today, some of them are Uber drivers, some are bakers, some are unemployed. We're going to come and put this country back to work. We have the men and the women to bring this country back onto its feet. And that is exactly what we're going to do. On 7th December, NDC is number 8 on the ballot paper. They said they were going to break the 8, but God knows best. God gave the 8 to me. And so the only breaking of the 8 that is going to happen is the breaking of 8 years of corruption. And those who have stolen the money of the people of Ghana, we're going to follow them and take that money back for the people. All the corruption scandals are going to be investigated. And I'm sure that even though they are packing the courts because they think that it will earn them a free pass, even if they are found culpable of having stolen money, I believe in our judges that they are upright and they have a conscience. And that when the cases are brought to them and the evidence is clear, they will do what is right by the Ghanaian people.
In other stories, the assistant head teacher of academics at the Twin Cities Special School, Philip Klu Kweku Boga, is appealing to the general public for assistance in expanding the school's girls' dormitory, which is currently overcrowded. The school, which serves children with special needs, faces several challenges, including limited space and inconsistent support, making it difficult to accommodate more students. His heartfelt appeal was made during a visit by the power queens of the Electricity Company of Ghana, who extended their support to the school. There's more in this report.
The Twin Cities Special School, a place of hope and care for children born with special needs. Since its founding on October 9, 1976, The school has provided essential education and support to those children, but today it faces challenges that require a helping hand. Originally located Hoseko, the school relocated in 2009 for safety and well-being of its students, but the need for a new girls' dormitory has become increasingly urgent.
Yeah, currently the girls' dormitory. We need a dormitory now because the girls, where they are now, the place is congested. So if you are a girl coming here, you'll be on a waiting list. So we need a dormitory for the girls. And also things, especially the infirmary, as we said, we need consumable drugs for the students. And then also we need a lot of funds to support the students and the staff. The government give a feeding grants, and it's like it has not been coming the way it's supposed to be. Sometime in a year like this, they will give about just one term. So people have been helping us. You have came near. The small donation that they do is what we use to take care of the student.
Recognizing the need for support, the Power Queens of the Electricity Company of Ghana, an association of female staff, arrived at the school not just to give, but to share moments of joy and love with the children.
Mothers, we normally forget about those children. We have difficulties getting in touch with them. We've done blood, we've done orphanage donation. So I think it's just appropriate that we turn to this special school in Takoradi to make an impact, just to show our love to them.
As the Power Queens bid farewell, the children of Twin Cities Special School are left with more than just gifts. They are left with the memory of a day filled with care and compassion.
Welcome to our business update for this morning. And in our first story, economist Professor Patrick Esuming is warning the conclusion of the Eurobond debt restructuring will have dire consequences on the economy, medium to long term. He fears come 2026, government may struggle to service its Eurobond debts due to the nature of the bonds, arguing there are no clear strategies to service them. Reacting to the development, Professor Esuming stated it would be too early to start jubilating.
We get a sense that that may probably have been part of it. Now, we are told that there's some subscription of about, is it 90% or so?
98%.
So we need to know whether instead, because of this 90% subscription, whether we are going to save the initial amount that we were told that we will save. But I don't think in the short term, it sounds like it's good news for the economy. I don't think over the medium to long term, it's great news for the economy. If you look at the structure of the new bonds, the new Euro bonds, we are essentially just packing or pushing all our problems further down the line to 2026. I think what the hard work now begins. The government should come and convince us what we are going to do to ensure that when we get to full-scale payment in 2026, we will be ready. I think that's where the challenge is. So at the moment, yes, we are pushing our problems further down the line. Now the hard work begins. We want to hear what the plans are. What are the specific strategies we are going to put in place to ensure that come the time, or even including now that we have to start repaying, that we have the funds, especially the foreign currency, to repay. I think that's what Ghanaians want to hear.
Well, Ghana leads West Africa in the implementation of a multinational enterprises declaration. This is according to the International Labour Organization. Speaking to Joy Business at a breakfast meeting, and the Ghana Investment Promotion Center country rep Vanessa Fala said the declaration was a means of balancing issues around trade with labor rights with the aim of promoting decent work within multinational enterprises working in Ghana and elsewhere. Here is country director for the ILO, Vanessa Fala.
I want to recognize the very important leadership from the Ministry of Employment, Labor Relations and Pensions in terms of coordinating and really spearheading the implementation of the MNE declaration for multinational enterprises. Of course, this is a very important declaration that aims to promote responsible business conduct in Ghana. And also the purpose of this breakfast meeting here today also is to go deeper into the M&E declaration and also articulate what it aims to achieve. I also want to say, the role also of the national focal point that is coordinating the implementation of this declaration has been very instrumental. The Ghana Investment Promotion Center has taken a leadership in ensuring a coordinated approach. I also want to recognize the role of the trade union in Ghana, the Ghana TUC, the GFL, as well as the Ghana Employers Association in creating and facilitating dialogue that will begin to see business and enterprises really committing and respecting workers' rights.
And that's it for our business updates this morning. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi, who is copying me in black. Or maybe I'm copying her. Who knows?
Don't pay any attention to Benjamin. But right before we wrap up the AM news, let me tell you who's joining us to review the newspapers this morning. We have Kwame Nkrumah Botsio. He's secretary of the Independent Committee of the CPP. Dr. Paul Dankwa, spokesperson on governance and security. And Philemon La from the NDC communications team. All three gentlemen joining us to review the newspapers. We'll be right back. Welcome aboard the news review segment, and I have two gentlemen joining me in the studio. I know earlier we told you that we have three guests, and when he gets here, we'll introduce him to you. But to start with, we have Dr. Paul Dankwa. He's government spokesperson on energy, government and security, governance and security. We also have Kwame Nkrumah Botsio. He's not here, but we also have lawyer, or should I say barrister Philemon La from the NDC communications team. Happy now? Philemon.
Yeah, I mean, the people of my constituency are grateful.
Need to know that you're a barrister. It helps with the politics. But let's get straight into it. I'll come to you for your thoughts before we get into the newspapers. Dr. Dankwa, what's on your mind this morning?
A few days to election.
64.
2024. That the Ghanaian people would vote for the future. That would consider Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as the credible candidate, a man of integrity, a man of vision, a man you can trust to be able to lead and steer the affairs of Ghana from 2025. My thoughts really are a good leader that we need, who cares for the people genuinely, who wants to assist, who wants to see that Ghana progresses, who wants to see that we have all the essentials that we need for a developing country. And my vote is for none other than Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And I recommend him to the Ghanaian people, the budding young people, that their vote as well, and good conscience, should direct them to the number one on the ballot on the 7th of December 2024.
Doc, would you have, I mean, it's implied that your vote is, of course, for Dr. Bawumia because you speak for the government, you speak for the party. And I heard you say sometime that you're not a politician. Was that last time I think Ben and I were on the news review together? He said something and he said you are not a politician. About how politicians...
I don't recall.
You don't remember
that? I don't recall that. But
right.
You know, once I have stood on the ticket of the party for primaries, I'm a politician, fully.
Oh, well.
And let me greet my constituents, the good people of Achimegbuakwa North constituency. I greet you all this morning.
Let's proceed. Barrister Philemon La, you have your 1.5 minute, 2 minute take.
Very well. I think that it's important for us to describe this government for what it is. What it is because in just a space of a few months, 3 months basically, organized labor has had to hold this government by its balls, by the threat of a shutdown. When they did that the first time, the president and his government ran into oblivion. They chased them into submission. And today, organized labor again is holding this government to its balls. It speaks to the fact that this government has been a monumental failure, that organized labor would use a nationwide shutdown as the panacea to get this government to listen. Because whenever we make cries to this government, they do not listen. It takes the threat of a shutdown for this government to heed. Galamsey has threatened us that it is even possible that the water, sweetie, you bathed with this morning may have had some doses of mercury. That's how dangerous it's become. And yet this government has been quiet about that. Its ministers are complicit in Galamsey. Alhaji Bawumia has not had the balls, the effrontery, the patriotism, the love for country to speak about this.
All right. So
Galamsey is real. And the people of this country are rising up against that. Just like the youth of this country are out on the streets this morning, demonstrating against this Akufo-Addo Bawumia government because of their monumental failure. That's on my mind. We are coming on board as an NDC to proffer better, lasting solutions to save the people of this country.
Yeah, we're starting hot, huh? But Dr. Paulo Bwachidankwa, let me ask you one simple question. Has the government, and you speak for the government, has the government seen the outpour of reaction towards the state of our water bodies, and what is the response of the president, the vice president, and flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party for the December 7th elections? What are they saying about it? You speak for them, so what is the message?
You know, sweetie, yesterday, I'm aware that before organized labor brought out their statement that they were calling for a nationwide strike, I was on PM Express to state that I'm very certain that government will give a very favorable response, and I'm confident.
Well,
yes, that was on 2 days ago, that government will give a favorable response. Yesterday, at about 9 o'clock in the morning, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, together with some ministers prior to cabinet beginning, met with the leaders of organized labor and had some very good conversations with them. And I'm aware that this morning, organized labor is going to be discussing the fallouts of their meeting with the President. At cabinet yesterday as well, Galamsey conversations were very key on how we can be able to address that. And I'm happy that this morning, on the news center page, water bodies are beginning to get cleaner in some parts of central region.
Are they?
Yes, very much so. I mean, Ghana Water Company.
The reason I asked what
Ghana
the
Water
message
Company
is,
Limited has been able to state that.
We'll get into that in a bit.
We would get into that.
So the reason I asked, probably hold for me. The reason I asked what the message is from the government, from the president and the vice president, is when you were giving us your submission, you talked about good leadership. I was in a room at the GJA Awards when the president of GJA spoke quite passionately about Galamsey. And when the president mounted the stage, not a word. Has the president actually said anything? And this isn't something that is just happening right now. Galamsey has been a topical issue for as long as I can remember. He himself put his presidency on the line. What has he said, tweeted, written, a statement in response to say that, okay, Ghana4, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're trying to communicate. Has the president said anything? Has he been able to, give us that respect that as a good leader, I hear what my citizens are saying? Has he been able to do that? And why hasn't he been able to do that yet?
The entire country is represented in blocks. This country is represented in blocks. And so the president met with organized labor. That's a good block that shows good leadership.
Okay.
The president did not ignore the issues that organized labor is raising, that the president should call for a state of emergency, that the president should revoke the LI that gives licenses to small-scale mining, that the president should call for smaller courts to be set up so that they can expedite illegal mining cases in court. The president has not ignored that. So very clearly, good leadership is where the president, having seen that organized labor is threatening the nationwide strike, and 2 hours before cabinet, president meets with them at 9 o'clock. That's good leadership, very clearly.
He had to take that.
No, it didn't have to take that. It didn't have to take that. But you see, the government does not work in isolation of the citizenry. The government works in sync of the citizenry. And when I state that the works that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has done from 2017 till date, and I give a grand scheme of the efforts, and I give a grand scheme of the impact in terms of the mining value chain and the revenue that we have been able to underscore. I mean, clearly, people don't want to hear that. But that's the truth. From 2017, the president has been talking about mining, has been talking about illegal mining, has been talking about people moving away from water bodies. And I'm glad that this morning, the water bodies are getting cleaner in central region.
And this morning, citizens are pouring out on the streets, demanding the release of people who, in the interest of the country, went out to say that we are peacefully protesting there were some isolated incidents that caused, or the police tried to limit the spread of violence and all that. But there are people pouring out on the streets as we speak. And so did it have to get here? It's the question for the president to meet organized labor. And Philemon, I'll come to you in a bit before we get into the newspapers.
People have their right to demonstrate. When you demonstrate, I always call for civil and responsible demonstration. I don't call for people who demonstrate and cause public havoc and prevent people from going along their ordinary duties. There's a Public Order Act. And I'm glad that when the police granted these new demonstrators who are demonstrating for 3 days and is ending tomorrow all the way from Otonglo to the stadium, I'm glad that the police reminded them that in the course of your demonstration, be minded about the fact that there's a Public Order Act. And if you cause any havoc to the ordinary running of the country, you would face the law. And I'm not sure that we want to have a country where rules and regulations do not work. You saw what happened.
Yes, there are people in custody.
Absolutely. The people that are in custody, there are clear reasons to that. They violated the Public Order Act.
We have to work within time. Philemon, I know you have some reaction. I'll give you a minute and a half, and then we get into the newspapers.
I think that maybe he failed. I won't say he refused to answer the question of why the president did not directly respond to the GJA president. You are invited by the journalists, the inky profession, the fourth estate of the realm. They put a direct message to you, Mr. President. Address the issue of Galamsey. You have the opportunity to address GJA journalists and the whole country, and you are quiet. What message does that send? Mind you, prior to the GJA event, organized labor had given the president an ultimatum. Act within a period on Galamsey, otherwise we'll strike. Yet again, the president, Baumia, they did nothing about that. Upon the expiration of that timeline, organized labor declares a date for a strike. Only for the president to now call them and say, oh, my economy is so bad now, if you go on a strike, it's going to further sink the economy. I mean, what kind of excuse is that? You have failed. You are telling the people of Ghana that because you have failed, if they go on a strike, your failure will be much more. I mean, that's the most lazy approach you can take to this.
Okay, Philemon, I'm sure we'll get back. We'll circle back here because, of course, Galamsey is the most topical. Yeah, I want you to wrap on your thoughts for me in a couple of seconds.
I think that
I want us to get into the newspapers. There are a lot of newspapers.
Comparing the time you gave me and what you gave.
Because I was asking questions. I was giving you time to reflect. Yeah. Should we get into the newspapers, or you want to land?
I hope you give.
Okay, so I'll give you time. I'll start with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, motorway street lights vanish. Abracadabra. KNUST, UEW, UGBS for tertiary business sense challenge finale. Blame prosecutors for delayed Galamsey cases. I was listening to that blame game going on between AG, the Chief Justice, and all that about who should be blamed, who should really take responsibility for protesters still in police custody. ADB wins big at CIMG Customer Satisfaction Week. Eurobond investors forgive Ghana $5 billion debt. Let's start with the vanishing of motorway street lights, shall we? Almost all the street lights that were installed on the 19-kilometer Accra-Tema motorway have vanished after 3 years. A Daily Graphic team recently observed that many of the street lights and posts installed in 2021 along the stretch have disappeared, while the few remaining posts are damaged. The disappearance of the street lights has left authorities struggling to explain their whereabouts. Hence the name disappeared, vanished. Despite the numerous public institutions involved in the project, none could provide the reasons for the missing street lights, with the Ghana Highway Authority, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and the Ministry of Energy pointing fingers at each other. Gentlemen, this isn't just an Accra-Tema highway issue. I leave my home around 4:30 latest every day, and sometimes it's such a struggle to just drive through these streets of Accra to get to work. If you're not careful and there's an oncoming vehicle who also wants to see, because there are no lights on the street, and they shine their highlights, you would have to either pause or you might hit someone. It is so dark. I'm talking about just that, is it called Ring Road or so, from before you get to Labadi after GBC, all that stretch. There's nothing there. Government spokesperson, what say you? What's happening on our streets?
You know, I am as concerned as you are concerned. I'm concerned that I know that we have a responsibility to protect infrastructure that governments invest in. There are some irresponsible Ghanaians who, after government has implemented some very good flagship programs, like maybe street lights and making sure that our lights are working on the streets, which we pay for with our taxes, people go and often you would find that they are either removing the bulbs or people are driving recklessly and hitting the poles and all of that. We need to be a lot more vigilant to ensure that these people who are either destroying the street lights or driving recklessly and running into street lights are paying for those costs. Because I think that we need a lasting solution to it, because it affects every other person. It affects pedestrians, it affects drivers, it affects motorists, and it's not safe. It causes a lot of accidents on the streets, and we've lost we've lost people's lives, really. Over the years, because our streets have not been lighted enough, and often when even vehicles get spoiled on the road and the visibility of it, I mean, people don't even put their triangles, and if you're driving very late in the night, you can easily bump into one. So the required stakeholders and the required authorities should really look into this.
So the required stakeholders should really look into this. From Dr. Pogre Bachidankwa. Barrister Philemon La, what do you say? And the story is saying that the three main, institutions responsible for this are pointing accusatory fingers at each other. That's the Ghana Highway Authority, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and the Ministry of Energy, pointing fingers. So nobody can explain where the street lights have gone in.
No, but you see, basically, everything the people of this country have entrusted into this NPP government has been mismanaged. From the economy to agriculture to finance, everything has been mismanaged. On the specific issue of demolition or theft of street lights, I am aware that this government told the people of this country that they had invested so much in installing cameras, security cameras, all across the streets of Accra. That is something the MPP sought to take glory for. They said they had spent Ghana money to install cameras all around. And the logical conclusion is that if you've invested monies in installing cameras, then there should be a center somewhere where you can see what happens to what on the streets. That's the logical conclusion. So what is the Ghana Police telling us? What is Alhaji Bawumia telling us as chairperson of the Ghana Police Council? What is he telling us? That the monies he invested or spent, supposedly, in installing cameras on the streets of Accra was waste, and that you have spent money for which you cannot even track its usage. I mean, so when we talk about the incompetence and failure of the MPP government, this is another example, another clear example, because you can't spend the resources of this country and not produce results. And at the end of the day, you come back and, in fact, just I think a few days ago, he went ahead to pledge again that he was going to spend Ghana's money again into procuring 50,000 cameras. There are already 100,000 you produced. Now, what have you done with it? You've not been able to do anything. Crime is on the rampage. Things are happening on the streets, and the police will tell you, look, I have a friend of mine who parked his car just by the road at a parking spot. Someone walked into his car and drove off. When he went to the police asking for them to check the camera to be able to track who did that, the police said the camera wasn't working.
Is that why you say
it's not working?
You cannot say that they are all useless. I mean, sweetie, whatever it's worth, there are some cameras working that can capture.
You see, the problem in this country, are those who want to sugarcoat the truth. And the truth is that you, sweetie, you drive on the road all the time. You know the problems on the road. God forbid, if anything happens on that road to you, for which we need video evidence, for which Ghana's money has been spent in installing cameras, there will be no evidence to support you.
I cannot agree with
That's
you
the point.
because I need to actually check to be sure that the cameras are not
I am
working.
telling you,
So
I am telling you as a matter of fact, because on the issue of street
your
lights,
experience as that, I just want you to clarify.
When there's evidence before you, you still want to evade the evidence. The evidence is that street lights, something is happening to our street lights, whether they are being stolen,
in fact, I've just been told, Philip, I've just been told in the back room that someone attested that the cameras are working.
So
that's why you cannot say that the cameras are
someone. That's an opinion someone is sharing.
Exactly, same as you are sharing an opinion.
I am giving you a police report on the fact that the police have said that they could not procure video evidence to support a particular. Now, if the cameras are working, by your allegation that the cameras are working, that's not true. Then the cameras should be able to tell us that the street lights that are being destroyed or stolen, we know who are stealing it. That's not true. If it's working, then you know who is stealing the street lights. Not so, City.
Let's get into
it. If the cameras are working, you should see who is stealing the street lights. Is that not so?
Pogif says that's not true.
Answer the question. Is that not so? It is so.
I asked the question.
If the cameras are working, catch who are those stealing the street lights. If the cameras are working,
why can't we catch these criminals who are destroying lives by, removing street lights on the roads, on our streets?
Sweetie, I think that there is a grand scheme, really, by the NDC to states that every single thing that the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is doing has not yielded the necessary impact and results. If the NDC takes a position like that, they don't appreciate the grand scheme of what governance entails. The government set out to install over 100,000 CCTV cameras at major intersections and road networks in the country. One, to be able to combat crime. Two, to be able to have strong visibility on the road, and also to be able to recall issues that happen. You recall when there was a Brillo van attack, the CCTV camera was immediately pulled for the Ghanaian people to be able to appreciate what happened. And so really, I'm at a sea when I hear my good brother state that the cameras are not working. We can't sit on a national platform and state that the 100,000 CCTV cameras are not working.
So some
no,
are
sweetie,
faulty.
it's not some. All
His experience. We cannot underplay what he experienced with the police.
We work with evidence in this country.
Right.
Do you understand?
If they are working, those that are still in the street lights. Because the cameras should see them.
I work with the security apparatus. Sweetie, all our 100,000 CCTV cameras that we have installed are all working. I can invite the NDC.
I'm saying that we would have to confirm that
to
ourselves.
Yes,
we cannot say that because he has a different experience.
I can invite the NDC to come to the control room and have a look at all the CCTV cameras that are working.
All right, so two quick stories that are very important, and then we'll get into other things. So Eurobond investors have forgiven us $5 billion debt. That comes as good news to us, does it not? If we've been forgiven $5 billion. Let me get into this. So Ghana's Eurobond restructuring efforts has gained significant traction with over 98% of investors participating in the country's consent solicitation. The Minister of Finance, Dr. Amin Adam, has announced the debt treatment yielded a 37% reduction in the nominal value of Ghana's debt, equivalent to $5 billion dollars forgiveness. So 4.3 billion in debt service saving during the International Monetary Fund program. Let me add this story about blame prosecutors so that we can, work within time. So blame prosecutors for delayed Galamsey cases, according to the Chief Justice. And the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokonosaki, has said the delay in the determination of Galamsey cases emanates from the work of prosecutors and not the bench. And in a swift rebuttal to a call by the Attorney General and Minister of Defense, Godfrey Aboadami, regarding the slow pace of such cases in court, Chief Justice said, quote, on the issue of delays in Galamsey cases, the Attorney General will acknowledge that our engagements have shown that the delays emanate from the work of the prosecutors, and she provided the response during her remarks at last Wednesday's annual meeting of the Association of Magistrates and Judges, Ghana. On the back page, we have Garmanche to Grace Homo War in the United Kingdom, Carbank NSS personnel, renovate school building at Adenta, and many other stories. Pick one for yourself and get into that. Doc, we've been forgiven $5 billion. Good news? Obviously good news.
There's a lot of good news in this government.
Yeah.
Sweetie. And I'm glad that the Minister for Finance, the Honorable Amin Ada, has been working very hard. And, the backbench, there's one paragraph in the news center that I would just like to read. It says that the successful Eurobond debt exchange is a critical component of Ghana's broader debt restructuring efforts under its ongoing program, which we have with the IMF. When we set out to restructure our debts, there was a clear mandate and a clear mind around it that we would be able to have some relief. And this comes at the backbench of a hard-working government, that our debts that we have had over the years, when we sought to restructure it so that we can be able to have a good equilibrium between our debts and between our GDP and all of what we do, clearly to see that this has happened is a good milestone. And it tells you that the economy is recovering. It tells you that the economy is bouncing back stronger. It tells you that goods and services are going to come down. It tells you very much that the Ghanaian people are continually pleased with the hard work of the government. And I'm glad with this, that $5 billion of our debt has been relieved, and we have achieved this through about 37% reduction in nominal value of Ghana's debt. Sweetie, there's a lot more successes on the road.
Okay.
Sweetie, I wonder why you'd call this success. Success by a government that famously
Before you go on, if you were owing me 10 million Ghana
and I forgive you.
And I forgive you.
How
I say,
how is that your excellence?
Will you not be happy?
No.
Come on,
how is that your excellence? The fact of the matter is that this government declared that Ghana beyond 8. Ghana beyond 8. That was their bold declaration. Today, you are glorifying, you are trying to take credit for someone forgiving you for your debt. What they can? You owe.
No, but we
and
don't.
Those that you owe are saying that we forgive you. How is that to your benefit? How does that show excellence? It shows incompetence. They have seen you cannot pay. So better to... That's why they say if your friend comes to borrow money from you, don't expect to take the money back. It's a clear example. You don't have the competence to pay back, and they are forgiving you. It's not because of any excellent economic skills of this government that has led to this. It's just the fact that they are incompetent. But you see, on the issue of what the Chief Justice has said, that blame the prosecutors. That is it. The court would not act on anything if there's no prosecution. I have said time without number that this government has sanctioned the arrest and incarceration of the protesters, because nowhere does the Attorney General go to the circuit court on misdemeanors. The practice is that the Attorney General mandates the police to prosecute on behalf of the Attorney General on issues of misdemeanors in the circuit court. But on the issue of the protesters, it was curious that Godfrey Dame, Attorney General, sent lawyers from the Attorney General's office to go to court. And you know what they did in court? When we, lawyers for the protesters, were moving our bail applications, that they will stand trial, they will be available and support the police with the investigation, lawyers from Attorney General opposed the bail applications and said, Judge, put them in. We do not support the fact that they should be set free and that they will come to court whenever you call them. Put them in Sawam. That was what the lawyers did in court. And today the Attorney General wants us to believe that he's a Minister of Justice. Attorney General wants the people of Ghana to believe that he's a fair-minded person and that he's not being instructed by Akufo-Addo and Bawumia to ensure that innocent protesters, including a pregnant woman, including people who, let me make a point, including people that were
Ghana Police Service.
You trust the Ghana Police Service at your own peril.
Facts, Philemon.
What
Ghana
facts?
Police
Because
Service
Ghana Police Service, I am a lawyer.
Two tests.
I have a fiduciary relationship with my clients. Do you know the conferences I had with my clients? Do you know the conferences I had with my clients? I am speaking in my capacity as someone who's representing the protesters. You blame the Ghana Police Service at your own peril. It's not the same Ghana Police Service who killed innocent people in Asawasi and claimed they were armed robbers, only for a report to find out that Philemon, the Ghana Police Service lied.
See, it's a politically charged. It's a politically charged crime.
Because innocent citizens are in jail.
Speak to facts.
I am speaking to facts.
I get the point.
And the fact of the matter is that you cannot trust the Ghana Police Service.
And the fact of the
matter
evidence. Is, hold on 1 second. The fact of the matter is pregnancy is not something that we can contest whether or not.
Has the police service brought the person out for an independent? Has the police brought the person out for an independent test? Has the police done that? I'm saying that the credibility of the police is in tatters because they killed innocent people in Asawasi and called them armed robbers. And when we went into the back of the story, we realized that the Ghana Police Service lied. And this is the Ghana police you want to support. When your brothers and sisters are in jail this morning, they are in jail, not fed by the police, treated wrongly, incarcerated, just because they are asking that Galamsey be stopped. And yet Alhaji Bawumia, Akufo-Addo have refused to act on it.
Okay,
we
so
should all be sad about that.
Thank you.
We should condemn Akufo-Addo.
I'll come back to my two papers, but I want to get into your papers. I know you have some quick reflections on what he said, and then you can walk us through your newspaper. That's the News Center, I think.
You know, sweetie, we can't continue to do this to ourselves in this country. Let's be very honest and let's be very real. You know, we have a country to protect and we have people to govern. We want to be able to develop this country. If the biggest opposition party condemns every state institution, I don't know where we are going to go from here. If the NDC sits on a platform like the multimedia platform and says that you cannot trust the Ghana Police Service.
That's a fact. There's evidence. Sweetie, there are several instances of the Ghana Police Service.
I gave you your time. He's speaking now.
Several examples.
He's speaking now.
When the opposition party sits on a national platform and says you cannot trust the police, it's a very serious statement.
It is.
And it's scary because it means that no one can even trust the opposition party. Because we work with the police. Ghanaians engage the police. There are people who have seen the very good work that the Ghana Police Service is doing. We have peace in this country because the internal security is strong. And so I find it very troubling that La would be here to state that you cannot trust the police. Yesterday in a conversation that I was having with a group of people, trust is the bedrock of every society. And so I wish that he substantiates his claim with a lot more facts and evidence. He's a lawyer. He should substantiate that with a lot more facts and evidence, because we can't live in a country with a lot of politicization of issues. Let's be a lot more patriotic. We can have our political orientations, political affiliations, political ideologies, but on issues of nationalism, let's put the politics aside and deal with that. So this morning on the news,
Philemon, we're done with that.
Yeah, but otherwise,
be that as it may, this is your opinion of mistrust in the Ghana Police Service.
Yeah, absolutely, and
they're doing their work. So, and I'm saying,
there are examples
let me make my point, and then you can come in.
Lack of integrity.
Great. So so what I'm saying to you is that you cannot make a very general blanket statement that the police service is not to be trusted.
On this matter, they cannot be trusted.
So on this matter, your experience.
Yes. And there are several examples.
And our viewers are
discerning
the
Ghana Police Service has time without number lied to the people of this country, and they have been exposed. That's the fact I'm making.
Philemon, when I give you the chance to talk, I let you go. So when I'm speaking or the other guest is speaking, you have to let us also speak.
You don't give me time.
Okay, otherwise I will not come back to you.
You don't give me time.
The news center.
You know, so you see the news center, the front page says, First Sky Group chairman makes strong case for renewable energy. That is Mr. Sedi Kutoji. And then water bodies getting cleaner in central region due to security operations against Galamsey, Ghana Water Company Limited. Ghana records first case of Mpox in Western region. Eurobond debt exchange achieves 98% participation. But I think that I'm interested in the water bodies getting cleaner, because that's the major issue that is happening around now. So raw water sources from Setrehiman water treatment plant are seeing a significant improvement, with turbidity levels dropping to an average of 9,000 NT units, which is the nephelomeric turbidity unit, down from the previous high of 14 NTU. This reduction has resulted in a substantial increase in water production, rising from over 1.9 million gallons per day to over 2.7 million gallons per day, according to the Ghana Water Company Limited. Ghana Water Company Limited provided this update to the residents of Cape Coast, Elmina, and nearby communities, assuring them of the ongoing efforts to improve water supply. The improvement has been attributed to the work of the Central Regional Security Council, led by the Regional Minister, Mrs. Justina Marigold Hassan. In a statement, Ghana Water Company Limited pledged to keep the public informed of any significant changes to the raw materials quality that could affect the water supply. They also expressed an appreciation for the support from the Regional Security Council in addressing water challenges in the region. The water company urged residents to use water wisely as they continue to make efforts to ensure a consistent and adequate water supply. I mean, sweetie, this is really clear that the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is addressing these issues of illegal mining. Where government does good, we must commend government, because you see, government is a continuum. And I commend government. I commend the regional minister, Madam Justina Marigold Hassan. I commend the Regional Security Council. I also commend the Ghana Water Company Limited for ensuring that these water levels are doing well and the gallons are increasing, and really being truthful to the matter. You know, sweetie, for the rest of our lives, the only thing that will stand posterity is that we leaders, we commentators, we politicians remain truthful and remain honest. We must be truthful, we must be honest in our discourse as we engage in our politics. And I commend this as well. And I'm very certain that there is going to be a ripple effect of issues across the various...
So this is for the Setrehiman...
Yes, Setrehiman water treatment plant.
So just that, right?
For now, yes, for now,
just
that.
So we cannot say our water bodies, all our water bodies are clearing up.
No,
but I'm just clarifying. It's not an argument.
No,
We've got the story, I've got your submission. I'm just clarifying that
absolutely.
This is only for the Setrehiman power process.
Absolutely, yes. But then you see, sweetie, there are major hotspots where turbidity is high.
Yes.
It's not a nationwide issue.
Yes.
There are major hotspots. So if you begin to see that some of the major hotspots are beginning to get cleaner, I mean, it's important that you say that. And so that is what we are both saying. So you're agreeing with me that there are major hotspots and the water is getting cleaner.
Right. I'll come to you Barrister in a bit, but let me welcome aboard the Secretary for the Independent Committee of the CPP.
We've been confirmed by the National Executive Council. So we are no more an independent committee. We are now the national leadership.
You're now the national leadership of the CPP.
Yes.
So that makes you
August
the national
28th.
secretary of the CPP. Yes. Congratulations and welcome aboard, although you're late.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
It's okay. So I'll come to you in a bit. I just wanted to introduce you into the conversation. Barrister.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to get
curiously, it is Daily Guide you're giving me. Daily Guide. So the story I see that...
Why Daily Guide?
I'm just saying that it is Daily Guide is giving me. But the story I see that's very important is the fact that the unfolding environmental catastrophe, the dangers of Galamsey in Ghana, and this is written by Abdulhai Momin, your brother of the Inky, now with the UDS. He concludes by saying that the menace of Galamsey is not just a threat to Ghana's environment, it is a threat to the very future of the country. The government, security agencies, and civil society must work together to address the root causes of illegal mining, empower local communities, and hold those who break the law accountable. And that is the commitment of the NDC. The NDC comes on the back of ensuring that the young people of this country are helped to mine sustainably. We have always maintained that the real issue about the pollution of our water are those people, the politically exposed people, Wuntumi and Sampine and all of those MPP people who have been given licenses to mine in forest reserves. They are those who contribute substantially to the menace of Galamsey. They are those who contribute. And the NDC is saying that we shall, to the best extent possible, the NDC will not allow appointees to hold mining licenses. That is a commitment.
Okay.
Can MPP say that? Okay. They have rather given licenses to their appointees who are
what's the story actually?
It's called The Unfolding Environmental Catastrophe, the Dangers of Galamsey in
It's
Ghana.
an editorial, is it not?
No, it's a story by Abdulhai Mobin.
Okay. Thank you for that. Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We've done a lot of stories. We've talked about Galamsey, our water bodies clearing up. We've talked about Eurobond forgiving Ghana $5 billion debts. We've also spoken about street lights disappearing, but they're vanishing on our streets. But I'll give you a minute, tops 2 minutes, to give me, walk us through your, what's it called? What's top of your mind, and then we'll come back to the actual stories. I know whatever it is will have something to do with the national issues that we're discussing.
Yes. Top of my mind are 3 issues, which is the Galamsey issue, the streetlights issue, and also the sale of bungalows to private developers, which can be found on page 10 of the Ghanaian Publisher. And I think that it is very unacceptable what happens at times where you have state properties, properties of schools being sold to private developers. My alma mater, Chimota School, we suffered terribly when private developers took over our school farms. And over here, you see the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tokonu, stating that it is unacceptable for the Lands Commission to justify selling state land, bungalows and lands to private developers under the pretense of urban redevelopment schemes. This is a statement that echoes loudly throughout the country. And it is a statement that I believe will change the land tenure system in this country. I, apart from being a politician, I also do a little bit of land cases. And sometimes there are a lot of problems with some of the officials, not all, some of the officials of the Lands Commission engaging in certain unacceptable behavior. And I would want to commend the Chief Justice for this statement. And I'm sure it's going to be a game changer in our land tenure system from now on. And secondly, regarding the Galamsey issue, I was reading the headlines on my way here, and I was happy to see that some of the water bodies are getting cleaner. And I would want to commend the youth of this country and others, my own friend Oliver, and all those who have taken the bull by the horns and then brought this Galamsey issue to the fore. Because even if you look at our 2020 manifesto of the CPP, 2016 manifesto, all our manifestos always harp on the environment. We are a party which believes that a clean environment is very important to develop the country. And this is very simple, because a few years ago, I read in a few places that the next world war will be fought about water. And I thought it was something that was funny. But if this Galamsey issue is not dealt with speedily, we may have mayhem in this country. And I'm glad that the NPP government is sitting up and trying to do what they have to do. Of course, I have to admit that the other parties had to push them. They had to be pushed.
So you think the government is doing the needful then?
Well, what I'm seeing in the papers, in the media, is that they are trying to do something. But of course, we have to go on the ground. This I have to admit, this is the first time I'm seeing this about the water bodies getting cleaner. But we'll go on the ground and do our
For clarity, again, I don't want us to, sell this narrative that the water bodies are clearing up, because there's a lot more to be done.
Yes,
okay, it is just the Setrehiman water processing, is it power processing or water processing?
Water processing plant.
Yes. That's the only one that we have. The story actually reports that it's clearing up. So it's not our water bodies.
Yes.
No, but
so let's not make it sound as if
when government is doing something that is commendable.
It's a start.
Commend what government is doing.
Yeah.
Commend what government is doing. It's as though in this country people always wish doom and don't want anything good coming out from a government. The water body is Setrehiman that impacts St. Cape Coast, Elmina, and the environs are getting cleaner.
And you're saying it's because government
Absolutely.
did it.
Absolutely.
How did government contribute to the water clearing up over there?
Don't we have a regional minister who has RESEC?
So how?
Isn't it clear? No, but you see, when it appears as though if you say that the water bodies are getting cleaner, what is wrong with that? There's nothing
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong in saying that the water bodies are getting cleaner.
The fight need not be as aggressive
as it is.
Saying.
No, that's
because
not what
people are still out in the streets.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that the government hasn't done anything.
Yes, but it's almost like every time people want to paint a picture of doom.
Oh, but that's not what we're doing.
No, I don't want us to do that.
The failures of this government are your opponents to use in this political season.
No, but the success of this government as well.
And it is yours for you to speak about.
Absolutely, but let's speak also about our successes. We have achieved a lot of successes.
Exactly. So I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's not a. Yes, please. We have to go. I'll come to you in a bit.
What exactly the government may have?
I'll come to you in a bit.
Let's be careful about rented press.
Barrister, I'll come to you in a bit.
All right, you come to me, right?
Please wrap your thoughts for me.
They may be doing something, but it is too little, too late. Too little, too late. They have proven to the Ghanaian people that they do not have the environment at heart. They may be experts at other areas of governance, but when it comes to the environment, the NPP has failed woefully. And we know that the discerning electorate know the track record of the CPP when it comes to the environment.
I don't know if you can say they failed when you said Poto. They're planting trees. Well, anyway.
No, but how many trees?
That's your time, please.
Yes.
So, Barrister Philemon La, give me a wrap
the
of your
NPP cannot take credit for anything because they have done nothing on the issue of Galamsey. And I'm saying that if they had done anything, they would have met the ultimatum by the TUC. If they had done anything, they would have directly addressed the concerns of the president of the GJA. If they had done anything, they would have come out to say that the youth of this country are protesting in very loud voices that something be done about Galamsey. The silence of the president represents the record of this NPP government, and that record is a record of silence, a record of inefficiency.
As we said here this morning, we cannot say, can we say, let me ask,
speaking based
that
on the facts
silent,
available, sweetie.
Government spokesperson just told us, and we saw that he'd met organized labor.
And organized labor, I listened to organized labor.
There's been a meeting.
Organized labor told the president that they would accept nothing short than a withdrawal of that LI that allows NPP people to mine in forest reserves. They have said that. They have said they demand nothing but a certain solid approach towards the fight against Galamsey. We have not seen any solid fight on the fight against Galamsey by this NPP government. That's a fact. So the NPP government cannot take record of anything. Look, the waters are polluted. Doctor, I put it to you that it is possible that the water you bath today may have been laced with mercury.
And that's your time.
May have been laced with mercury, Doc.
I'll wrap with you because you're just coming. Yes. Doc, Give me a wrap of your thoughts. We have a couple of minutes.
I have a story here on page 8 by the Minister for Information, and she reaffirms, the Honorable Hajia Fatima Abu Sakara reaffirms government's commitment to improving access to information. You recall that this week UNESCO had the IDEA conference, and there were a lot of countries that participated in that, and I'm glad that Ghana is leading in RTI and setting up as a model for the rest of the African continent.
Okay, thank you. Kwame Nkrumah, you have the final word.
Thank you, Suti. I would want to say that in as much as we seem to have some chaos regarding the current situation with the demonstrators and the police, I would want to emphasize that we as a CPP, we still have faith in the police service of this country. And be that as it may, we would also want to plead with the judiciary that they should do their best when these protesters come before them to temper justice with mercy. Because I know that bail is discretionary, but they should look at their what you'd call the mens rea. The mind behind the demonstration was not, I would say they didn't do it in bad faith. They had a reason for doing the demonstration. Certain things may have gone wrong during the demonstration. So we would say, I mean, there may have been some violence and pushing down of barriers and throwing of car keys, but let's look at the fact that they may have been carried away, but their intention was not to cause mayhem. So we'll plead with the judiciary to have some mercy on them and grant all of them bail.
That's refreshing to hear that, you know, at least you have trust in the Ghana police service and all that. But right before I go, if I don't do this, Benjamin will have my head. So Gideon Boako, I think your party member, made a post that he deleted within, what, minutes? And I just want to put that in about 10 seconds, your quick reflections on that. And he says, hypocrisy is when we gloss over the polluted Odo River and Koli Lagoon in Accra, but demonstrate over a polluted Pra or Tano River outside Accra. Hashtag equal attention. What did you make of that, Philemon La? In 10 seconds, please. We have to go.
Well, I think that obviously the deletion of that post shows that he knows he messed up. And he messed up because that's the spokesperson to the vice president.
Yes.
And what he says is a reflection of what the vice president thinks and means, because he speaks to the vice president.
You cannot say that.
I can say that.
10 seconds, that's it. You said he deleted it because he thinks it was a mistake.
So MPP who are not committed to the fight against
Thank you.
Kwame Nkrumah,
what do you make of that
important
post?
issues?
Well, I think it is true that, honestly, I agree with this post. I wouldn't say it is hypocrisy per se. I wouldn't say it is hypocrisy that we all... But the thing is that we don't draw our drinking water out of the lagoon.
Thank you. That's your time.
Yes.
Doc.
You know, I'm wondering why you are reading a statement that has been deleted.
But he put it out.
No, but I'm wondering.
It's on record.
And it's on a national issue.
No, but
it's on record.
You see, I'm wondering how...
He said hypocrisy.
You don't need to
trying
restate
to
it.
insinuate
You
that.
don't need to restate it. All I'm trying to say is that the integrity of the platform does not permit us to discuss an issue that someone has put out and deleted.
This is a political actor.
No, I don't think so.
Commenting on a national issue.
But
that's how we're wrapping up for the news segment on the AM show this morning. My guests joining me in the studio, we have Kwame Nkrumah Botsio, that's General Secretary now of the CPP. We also have Barrister Philemon Lam. He's from the NDC Communications team, as well as government spokesperson on governance and security, Dr. Palgrave Boakye Dankwa. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having breakfast with us this morning.
Thank you.
Coming up next is AM Sports. Because it's a Friday, we are bringing you Prime Take with Nilamte van der Poy. Enjoy.
What is that memorable game you commentated on when you were at GVC?
I had quite
a lot, but let me say one that is still in there was a match between Accra Suffolk and BA United.
What happened?
That was a discovery of Stephen Appiah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. As a young boy, I got Stephen. Somebody brought Stephen to me. And so I took him to Thomas Okain. Then, Nigbese today.
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, Edako. So I've seen the talent in, try him and see. So he was taking House of Folk training, 1, 2, 3. And then House and BA, I could see this boy in the jersey. So when I went to the dressing room to take the team sheet and I saw him, I said, wow. I was asking myself whether he could play. And then I went to a commentary box. It was fantastic. My BA United that day was good. Accra Suffolk was super. And the whole game was beautiful. I enjoyed the game. I could still play that game again in front of you. Because from the blast of the whistle to the end of the game, it was all action. Every player on the field that day, it was like their very existence, their football careers were dependent on the outcome,
of that game.
That match. It was great. BA had a fantastic team at that time. And it was a good match. After the match, then I went to Stephen. I told him, you are a future star if you'll be disciplined.
And indeed, he became one.
Yes. Up to today, he will tell you. So he calls me manager. He doesn't call me.
In fact, Stephen and I were on the phone just a couple of hours ago.
Yeah.
And we had some interesting
and I didn't. He will tell you, I didn't hide my emotions about his performance anytime he played the match. If he did well, I would tell him. If he was poor, I would tell him. I never hid it. There's this match too that I would say was very stuck in my memory. I was sleeping in the same room those days with Ezika Lamu.
Okay.
We're friends. Football mates, friends. We live in the same community in Zongolen. And we were sleeping in the same room. You know, those guys, those times young men share rooms, because it was difficult for you to rent a place.
Yeah.
And so we started together, we share a room. We sleep on the same bed. And the night before, I thought as a footballer, you should rest before a game.
Sure.
But he went around with friends having fun and all those things. And so he went to the game. It was one of his worst games. And I didn't hide it at all. From the commentary box, I gave it to him. And after the match, somebody was listening to the commentary. And the person told him. So when he came home, all of a sudden the person's mood has changed.
Yeah.
So then he started throwing some, jabs in Ghana. He said, I feel too much small book, okay? And I saw that he wasn't then. So he was sitting there eating. I went to put my hand in the food. Then he got up. He left the food for me.
Oh!
I ate it all right. And I finished.
Journalism is really, really difficult.
That day, he decided not to sleep on the bed. I had the whole bed to myself.
And you didn't even care?
And I didn't care. So the next day, I called the brother Sunday, and I told Sunday, this is what happened. I felt I was helping my brother, but he got offended. So tell him, I'm not going to apologize for what I did. It's for his good.
You don't owe him any apology.
No.
I often say this. Sometimes we make enemies for telling stories that people don't want to hear. I'm just wondering, we're doing our job. It's not personal.
There's no footballer. I played football with Abedi Pele. I criticized him and I praised him. To me, he was a fantastic footballer.
At what level did you play with Abedi?
Coast.
Coast
We played
football.
football together.
Okay.
Abedi Pele, I, and Abu Moro.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The late Abu Moro.
Yeah, Farkus.
I hear he was a wonderful talent.
Fantastic. Let me be frank with you. our time, the best footballers did not go far. I can tell you today, to me, from Ghana, I don't care, globally, one of the best footballers I have seen, and I will continue to talk about him, Mohamed Polo. I don't think Messi was better than Mohamed Polo.
Really?
I'm telling you. Polo.
Sika could have said magic.
Let me be frank with you. I saw a little bit of Joe Gates. I saw a little bit of the, let me say, Ofe Dodus, Ose Kofis, and the rest. They were all fantastic. But Polo, I don't know God. I don't know the God that created him. Polo, when people talk about Messi, Ronaldo, and the rest, I laugh. So you haven't seen footballers. Polo could stand at one place. The sort of things Messi sometimes does, you know. Polo had done more. Polo will kick the ball and direct the ball where to go. Polo will kick a ball and tell you, this ball I'm kicking is going to fall on your chest. The ball will fall on your chest.
Really?
Polo was fantastic. Look, there's this young guy who I thought would have been the best footballer. Is the nephew to Nyanum Thompson. He's still alive. James Thompson. We call it Ora James. Hey! Those days. And then immediately he was snapped to Nigeria. And that was the end of his career. House of Folk, Great Olympics were fighting over him. Somebody took him to Nigeria. And that was the end of him.
Are you a House of Folk fan? Or an Olympics fan?
No, I grew up as a House of Folk boy.
Because
my whole family, my father, my mother, everybody in the family was House of Folk. My grandfather used to share the same birthday with House of Folk. So it was like
11th November.
November.
Oh, I see. But at what point did you
11th November 1911.
1911?
Yes. My mother's father, my
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, so, then they were all founded the same day.
And my house was very close to the traditional home of Accra House of Folk.
Oh, okay.
Under Safachenete Street.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it was like when House of Folk players used to come there, we go there, we see them when we're kids. We see them, they come there to pray before they go to play.
It's a natural bond.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But then I became fond of Great Olympics because of their desire. In spite of everything they desire to achieve, and all, when I was going out, I became fond, but the House of Folk was still there. So it became like, it's an Accra team. I like them, but I love Accra House of Folk. Then all of a sudden, me and some friends decided that we want to prove to House of Folk and Great Olympics how to really run a club. So Alhaji Sly came in together with Alhaji Sly, Douglas Tego, the late Cash.
The late Alhaji Sly Tete.
Alhaji Sly Tete.
Oh, okay.
And then
I spoke to his
Alhaji Sani.
Okay.
I had you interview him.
Yeah.
Well, we played football together.
Oh, I see.
Alhaji Sly,
yeah.
Alhaji Sani, Douglas Tego.
Oh, I see.
Cash. So we're a group of ex-footballers who decided to come together to found a club and to prove to the football, they said that we, the football players, could
also do the same.
Yes. And because we didn't understand while in Europe, it is footballers who grew up to become presidents and chairmen of football clubs. But here, the job is meant for lawyers and things. The lawyers should be in a courtroom. Why do they want to mingle with our game? You know, so
he said they will come for you.
So we decided to prove to people. So we sat down clearly and we did the concept paper. I remember 2 days. We got people who have been in sports. The Honorable B.T. Baba, Mr. Commodore Mensa, lawyer, he was former dean of the. Is it dean of the law school? He has a Montcrest University. Lawyer Ansan Sari.
Oh, okay.
Ansan Sari and some others sat down, look at it, and we saw what we wanted to do. And I was proud of that time I spent with Alaji and Felice Ansong in developing football through Liberty Professionals. You can see the players we nurtured, the players we brought up. At the time, in fact, there was one national last time match, 10 out of the 11 players on the field were from Liberty.
Yeah, you really built something.
Yeah, because we spent time. There were times when 2 days we would just be on the road, just watching football matches across the country and picking players.
Wow.
If Sly heard that there was this player in that hole somewhere, we'll go for that player. I remember very well I was there, he called me and say, "Me no fear." So, if you know, okay, back when he was standing right by the roadside. When I went to him, he said, "Sit down." So, where are we going? So, let's go, don't talk, let's go. The next time, all that I saw were in Mando. We spent the night in Mando just to watch Ibrahim Atiku play football.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how you scouted as players.
Yes. We drove all the way from Accra to Pristia to go and watch our goalkeeper. I've forgotten his name. And we brought him to Accra the next day. We drove all the way to Agogo for Sule Muntari. So Sly was somebody who would not hear of a good player and would not want to go and see the player first before getting him.
Oh, okay. He wanted first an experience of the player.
Yeah, and that's what we did. Someone told us that there's this boy, a very good player called Michael Asian. And so he's playing Coast Team, Great Gardens or something in Cape Coast. We went to Cape Coast. We watched him. We said, yes, it's true. He's a good player. Can we get him? And we got him. Derek Boateng, all of them, all those players.
Let me see. Now let me ask you, I don't know if it's an emotional question. How do you feel these days about Liberty Professionals? Because
sad.
This was a team.
Sad. Sad. I feel so sad. You know, I go there, I go to Dansoman sometimes twice in a month because I belong to Liberty Oldies and we train there every Saturday morning. It's these days I don't get the time because of the campaign, but when I go there, every day I step there, I go back into time and ask myself, Sly, why did you leave so early?
But why didn't you people continue the legacy of Sly? What happened?
It's one thing, somebody bearing the vision himself, and another thing, somebody taking over that vision
and trying to drive it.
That's the difficulty we had. I have no problem with Mr. Ansong. He tried his best. But I think right from day one, the sort of structure that was built was like everything Sly. So when he passed, we couldn't handle the transition well to see how do we drive that vision he had.
Alaji, when I spoke to Alaji said, "Oh, Ansong was more of a businessman, not a football man."
You see, the issue is that Sly wanted him to look at the business side of the team. And so we needed somebody with that technical knowledge of managing the team. And that is what we didn't get because Alaji was outside, Cash had died, Douglas Tego was not really interested. I had moved on to politics. And so...
In fact, I'll come to politics.
We left Mr. Ansong alone. And I think that was the beginning of the end of Liberty. I felt that... So at the time, I felt that I should get some of our former colleagues to come on board. So I talked to Felice Abuaje, Asamoah Jan, Kojo Asamoah, Sule Muntari. I talked to all of them, John Pencil. I said, can you people come down? Why don't you put resources together? Let's buy the team.
Let's even develop the playing.
We have a friend who is also close to Sly at that time, Nelly's Phones, and Alexander Ite, Natlai. So I talked to all of them and said, look, why don't we pull resources together sit down with Anson. Let's buy the team. Run it just for the memory of Alhaji Sly. But it didn't happen. And so it's sad. It's sad. It's sad. Anytime I enter the field, anytime I look at the infrastructure, I look at what I drive through Dansoman. We bought few properties in Dansoman where the players were staying. Anytime I drove past any of those properties, something just hit me. Yeah. You know, it's like I have an unfinished business. I have a mission I was supposed to accomplish. I have not accomplished, but there's nothing I can do for now. It's sad, but then
you've not completely moved on.
I still have part of me. Liberty is still part of me. I'm telling you, liberty is still part of me. I feel sad about liberty, even though let me be frank with you. My love for Accra Suffolk will never go off.
Liberty is your baby, actually.
My first love in this world is my love for God. My second love is my love for my party, the NDC. And then my third love is my love for football, which is basically Manchester United, Accra Suffolk, Liberty Professionals.
Okay. Those of you who were part of the club began to move one after the other and all that, and that was how Liberty Professionals, like, let me say, the group disintegrated, right? So I just want to have a clear understanding of one thing. At what point did you decide that you're going to get into politics?
Well, I didn't decide I wanted to get into politics.
Politics came for you?
Yes. You know...
How did that happen?
You know, when I came back from Sunyani, I got back to Accra, I saw a lacuna in the attitude and the behavior of my colleagues, my friends, my neighbors in the area with our hood. That we live in Accra, where the...
This lacuna, isn't it a law word?
Yes, it is.
You saw a gap.
Yeah, I saw a lull.
Yeah.
I saw a lull in the attitude and behavior of my friends, my distinct within the area. That they could sit down, the area is dirty, the drains are choked and all those things, and nobody cared. Because they felt it's a responsibility of the city authorities. I've grown up in Sunyani where communal labor was part of my life. Okay. Every month we did communal labor. And then everybody, you dare not leave your frontage unkept. So I said, how can we live like this? So I decided that every 2 weeks I was organizing the youth in the area for us to clean the gutter, to clean, then play football. If we don't clean, you don't play the football. I decided if we were playing football and you did not take part in the cleaning, you will not play. I don't care who you are. And I had fights, brushes with a lot of people. I lost some, I won some. Because I said I would not allow them to play the game. Because they didn't take part in the cleaning. So that became like, I became like an automatic, organic organizer of the youth in the area.
Yeah.
That was just when the PNDC government at that time was introducing the district assembly concept.
Oh, okay.
So all of a sudden, people started calling me assemblyman and things. And so at that time, I was not interested. So Jerry Akwe Thompson, we supported him. He became the assemblyman. Along the line, the youth felt his output was not what they anticipated.
Yeah, he was not meeting their expectations.
So all of a sudden, there was a clamor for me. I was there. People went and did my posters. They bring a form for me to sign. But I was then a staff of GBC.
Really?
So I didn't want to get involved in those things. So that was before 92. So when political party activity came in, my father had been a strong CPP person. So the CPP had then metamorphosed into NCP. And they would have a meeting in my father's house. So I got there one day and I remember very well, the late PNDC member, Abu Sakara, was there, Pastor Kwashi and some people. And they told my father, but your son is good enough to be, is he not a graduate? He said, yes. Then he's good enough to be our candidate. I just moved on. I said, what are these old men talking about? So I just went into my room. Then I was there. My father came and said, this is the decision. So I should think about it. At that time, I was a member of the Eagle Party, Eagle Club.
Eagle Club, okay.
Eagle Club. And we were fighting about how to turn the Eagle Club to a party. Whether we should have Eagle Party or we should accept the NDC to subsume us.
Okay.
You understand? So, in fact, I suffered. I was arrested together with the late Dr. Farouk Brahma, the late Susudis, and then Alaji Waya.
What was your crime?
We were given some slaps because we were resisting the transition from Eagle Club to political party. Because the Eagle Club was in the party. It was a club, it was a movement. And we didn't know what that political party would become. So we were resisting. And it wasn't easy. I got some few slaps.
Then you and your mentor all had slaps. He told me how he had to climb a wall and escape.
So when finally it was accepted that we should have a party called the NDC. Even that one, some of my seniors resisted, and they still had the Eagle Party. But we all moved to that. So when that thing happened and it became NDC, my father said, no, you can't be NDC. You have to be NCP. We are CPP people. You can't be NDC.
Did you sever ties with your father on that?
Well, not really, because I wasn't even convinced about the whole politics issue.
Oh, okay.
You understand? And I felt that as a staff of GBC at that time, I need not get myself involved in politics.
Yeah.
So, but the club, as for the Eagle Club, it was a club. So, 92, when they were going through, I was there. My father insisted then that I should be the NCP parliamentary candidate. So the form was picked, I signed in the then bungalow of Mr. Abu Sakara. Everything was signed. So I was going to be the candidate for NCP. Then there was a merger between NDC and NCP. So when the merger happened, it became obvious that we were too small to swallow the NDC. So the NDC swallowed us. So when the NDC swallowed us, we all became automatic members of the NDC. My father himself accepted.
Okay.
Because they didn't also have the resources at that time.
Yeah.
So it was going to be a struggle. So when we went in, fortunately for me, I was made a ward secretary. Just like that. I became a ward secretary. And then we had the parliamentary primaries. Ishmaelite became the candidate. Then in 96, the youth decided that I should be the parliamentary candidate. So they entered me for the primaries. We were 4. The then MP Ishmaelite, the late Ato Baker, and then Captain Yokain, and then myself. It was a struggle. And I knew that I was going to win because the youth were with me at that time. Twice we went for the primaries. According to the elders, they saw that my uncle, Commodore Steve Bimpe, was one of the people at that time. They came around, the BNI report, everything indicated I was going to win, and they didn't want me to win. They felt I was too young. Because the idea of the then President Rawlings was that whoever emerges as the candidate or the parliamentary candidate or the MP for Dododo was going to be a minister. So they felt I was too young. So they cancelled the primaries twice. It was cancelled. And finally, all the 4 of us were disqualified. And then the then Minister for Interior, Neo Kanja Adamafio, was made the parliamentary candidate.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I got into politics. So 96.
So you combined journalism and politics?
At that time, I was still hiding my real identity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, until 96, when I was going to contest 96, the lawyers advised that, look, you could go ahead and contest because you are not a civil servant.
Oh, okay.
They said only civil servants and members of the security services.
Yeah.
But I was then a public servant, so I was cleared. So from 96, I decided to come out boldly.
Oh, okay.
And that was the reason why 92 I didn't attempt it. If I had known at that time that there was no legal constraint, I would have contested 92.
I
was then an assembly member. So automatically I could use the popularity of the assembly at that time. I just won as an assembly member fresh. So I could have easily gone for the primaries. But because I thought that I was working in GBC, I couldn't contest. So when I was advised by my colleagues who were lawyers at that time, said that, look, you are qualified to contest. And I went in fully 96. And I was just coasting to victory when everything was cancelled and Okanja was made. And we all supported Okanja to win. He won. Unfortunately, he lost the 2000 election. The NDC actually lost power in 2000. And so it became obvious that in 2002, when the primaries got in, I put myself up again. I wasn't even outside the country pursuing my master's degree.
Oh, okay.
But I was called in and I contested and won the primaries. I won the primaries handsomely. I won with about 96%.
Hey.
So after that, I got myself fully immersed
in politics. And how has the journey been?
Rough and good. Rough in the sense that
you had a very rough beginning in life, and you had rough time in politics, and also humbling life in GBC.
I naturally, if you didn't know me, I'm a very simple, humble person, but I don't like being cheated. If you push me, I'll push you, because that's the way I grew up. I don't like being pushed. I don't like being hit. I prefer when you're shaking me, shake me friendly. Don't extend your handshake over my shoulders. Because as ABA Hussein says, it no more becomes a handshake, it becomes a shove.
You've been clearly shoved.
Yes. So that's the way I have grown up, and I'm nice. I'm nice with everybody, whether you are elderly, my contemporary, or young. Once we respect each other, it's fine for me. But my constituency, some people thought that they could use intimidation, rough tactics, coercive force to always have their way. And me, when you smile towards me, I will smile towards you. But when you frown, I will frown. So I proved to them that I'm not one of those easy nuts to be broken. You can't just, if you want to take something away from me, convince me why you have to give it up. But don't come pushing me, wanting to just strip my shirt off my chest as if I'm not a man. So that is why they also decided that, look, the only way we can get this guy off is to use force, because his popularity is just too huge. And they tried and tried. I know if I had not stepped down, they would have tried again, and I would have beaten them to it again. So politics has been ups and downs, let me say.
So
I am grateful to God Almighty.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to God Almighty. I'm very proud of my achievement as a member of parliament. I'm very proud of the sort of impact I've made in my community. It's not been perfect, but I will stand everywhere and beat my chest that my people have not regretted giving me 3 terms representing them in the House of Parliament.
Ghana 4, after Prime Take, it is time now for me to serve you my blunt thoughts for today. And I've titled it Champagne Politics and Galamsey Economics. The pillaging of Mother Ghana continues. Champagne politics and Galamsey economics. The pillaging of Mother Ghana continues. There is this saying by Thomas Sankara. He was a revolutionary Pan-Africanist and former president of Burkina Faso, who said, "We must choose either champagne for a few or safe drinking water for all." Think about it. Do we want champagne for a handful of people, aka our political class, their affiliates, and the elite? Or do we want water, the basics, for every Ghanaian? This will be the third time in as many weeks that my bland thoughts have focused on Galamsey, its ravaging effects on us, and the lack of political will to fight it. But the question is, why have I been focusing on Galamsey back to back? Because our very existence, Ghana 4, is on the line. All of us. There is no MPP water or NDC water. There is no MPP environment or NDC environment. There is no Alliance for Revolutionary Change, COCO, and no Convention People's Party, AGRIC. If our environment suffers, we and our progeny, those to come after us, shall suffer also, squarely. We and no others. If we destroy this place as we already are far advanced in doing, we cannot run to someone else's land and take it. We have neither the sovereignty and political backbone nor the resources involved to do so. If that happens, we would be a truly pitiful sight if we went full steam ahead with destroying the very nature that sustains us. But guess what? Thanks to our weak, greedy, and vicious political leaders who see nothing but their personal interests and the basket of votes in the next election, we're practically at the doorstep of such blood-chilling destruction. Yesterday at the Stop Galamsey Now and Free the Citizens demonstration, some placards they used caught my attention. One read, "Destroy Galamsey, not our future." Destroy Galamsey, not our future. Another one read, "Your greed, our crisis." We have a crisis of illegal mining and a crisis of leadership to deal with it. And when I say our politicians, especially those in power now, are neck deep in this Galamsey thing and will do anything to protect their parochial, demonic, and unpatriotic interests, some of you act up. Just yesterday, and I'll not mention his name, just for a certain reason, some bigwig in this administration posted on social media in a now deleted post. Listen to what he said. He says, hypocrisy, hypocrisy is when we gloss over the polluted Odo River and Kole Lagoon in Accra, but demonstrate over a polluted Pra or Tano River outside Accra. Hashtag equal attention. Can you imagine such a person advising on anything in this country? I rest my case. He swiftly deleted the post, but I guess if he had reasoned through it properly, his fingers would never have typed such horse feathers. But of course, idiotic foot soldiers will come and defend him because it's coming from their selfish political class, a class they aspire to join fully. They put their bellies on a high pedestal and their brains they drop into the gutter. Yeah. And that's why we are where we are as a country. Which brings me to my slides. And I'm going to cut all sides because it doesn't make sense how our politicians are dealing with Galamsey, or better still, not dealing with it. You have Dr. Ayu Afriye, Chairman of Parliament's Health Committee, Chairman of the Health Committee. And there's been talk about, the video was doctored. When we use that word, do we properly understand it? In media, you may say a whole lot. We will not play the whole thing you said. If it's going to be edited, we're going to chop out what we want, what is newsworthy. So if that is doctoring for you, I don't know, because doctoring is where someone has said one thing and then you have inserted something or you are claiming the person said something else. So he says the NDC saw that we, that is the MPP, were winning the seats in the mining areas. So they decided to go and import foreigners to engage in illegal mining on our water bodies. Our water bodies have not been a problem until now. It just started 1 month ago. I'm sorry. Is he serious? It just started 1 month ago. I don't think he's in Ghana. It is someone's motive to force the MPP government to stop Galamsey so that we will lose the seats. We won't stop them. That is the Galamseyers, today or tomorrow. They take their journalists to talk about it. And you know, that's the funny thing. I always dare them when they start talking that go back and listen to what I said about former President Mahama and what I did to him. I'm not even doing half of that to this administration. Yet these journalists, because they are, then this one is, you can categorize us whichever way you like. We'll still speak the truth. What is the truth? We will say it. It reminds me of my old hall in the University of Ghana, Commonwealth Hall. Truth stands. No matter what. You can paint it black, white. It is still the truth. They take their journalists to talk about it. Is Galamsey done in Accra? They should come to Kumasi to demonstrate against Galamsey, like they will see. We will see what? Such reckless, irresponsible statements. You have a doctor who has decided, you know what, I'm a medical doctor too. And especially when the GMA, the Ghana Medical Association, is complaining about the number of cases coming on the back of Galamsey. Children, babies, adults. And for someone who is in the health space to say this, the GMA must intervene. So Dr. Samuel Aye of the University of Ghana Hospital put out a statement actually calling on the GMA. He says, I respectfully write to petition the association regarding the public conduct of one of its members. That is Dr. Ayuefrie, requesting that the association summon him before the disciplinary committee. And I agree with him. I mean, medical doctor? Really? Next slide. But it doesn't end there. And I've heard explanations. I don't care a hoot about those explanations. We should all know better. And for someone who is a running mate, I think I was so sorely disappointed to hear that. No matter how you want to color it. Nana Jenopokwam Ajaman, running mate for the NDC, says the youth need jobs. And if Galamsey, you see, that's the problem. If Galamsey is what they will continue to do, then they should be taught how to do it safely and without destroying their communities. We have come here with good intentions to show a better way. Which good intentions, madam? Galamsey is already illegal. So how are you going to beautify the illegality? How are you going to season it, garnish it? It's illegal. Some have come to say, oh, she meant small-scale mining. She didn't say small-scale mining. At least that's not what we heard. She said Galamsey. So it gets so worrying when you hear all these sides talking about these issues and then pussyfooting with it, playing with it, toying with it. And we watch them. Political sycophants. Me NDC inti we can say amenka. Me MPP inti we can say amenka. Okay. In so asem ba yen na ye behwe whether you are FPP or YPP, say na will be inside. Now, it gets even worse because Akufo-Addo, our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, his rhetoric from many years, even before he became president, and I'll take you to one of his posts on Now X, from way back when, and what he said. And you do the juxtaposition. I will not think for you. You think for yourself. And ask yourself, is our president listening, really? I interact with some members of the MPP, and the things they tell me point to the fact that it's merely a matter of votes. They don't want to lose votes. They don't want to bleed, hemorrhage votes, and that's why they do what they do. But Occupy Ghana has lamented time and again. Look at the number of times there have been calls to do something. September 2022, open letter, issue raised by Occupy Ghana. 3rd October, reminder 1, declare an emergency. 10th October, reminder 2, ecological disaster. 17th October, reminder 3, confiscate Galamsey lands, no action. 24th October, reminder 4, Akonta mining, action, no action. 31st October, reminder 5, no response. 7th November, health disaster, deformed children, all in 2022. Charity begins at home, 16th November. Final call, halt Galamsey, 10th September 2024. I guess this is the proper Yentiobia. Yentiobia. Ebetimi ashayebo, enyesa. But insuyo no nebekwa koshayebo. Ne kuyen. Ebeseye. You see where politics is leading us? I don't get this country, and we are so polarized. So everywhere you pass, there will be people today who will say, and why are you talking about Nana Jenopokwam Ajaman? There will be others who will come, Dr. Ayuefrie, why are you? I'm sorry, but many of us are very foolish. I have to say it. We don't think of the future. We are thinking of now. No sensible person thinks only of now. No sensible person does that. And if you are sacrificing whatever just for a handful of people, like I said, like Sankara said, do you want champagne for a few or water for all? The basics for all or luxury for a few? $3 million. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because in the whole claim about fighting Galamsey, there's also this issue. $3 million we invested hoping to get some 200 Galamsey drones. And this, even Professor Frimpong Boateng at the time spoke about it. National security has come into the matter. They've also spoken that, look, we didn't take stock of them. I think John Peter Amewu also spoke to the issues. But I have a simple question this morning. Eventually, 3 of these drones, 3 out of 200 for this sum of money, were showcased to us. I have a question, simple question this morning. Where are the drones? Drones, because we expended the money. We said we were getting them. Eventually, only 3 were showcased. Drones, I'm asking you, where are the drones? The drones that were supposed to go into those areas, especially forest reserves and the rest, and monitor so that we would see who is doing what there. Where are the drones? And our drones, Yamutu. Now you look at the strike, the industrial action that is being planned by organized labor. And I'm scratching my head. Yesterday I read that Mr. President was now asking for time. You've had a month since they started threatening. In fact, more than a month, if you look at certain members of organized labor. You wait till it's 6 days to time, because they say the 10th. And now, oh, Ms. Remo, think about it. Ms. Remo, give us time. Really? Now, the demands that have been made by organized labor, among others, deploy the police and the military. Some action has been taken on that. We give a check. All the rest, nothing. Declare a state of emergency. Halt all mining near forest reserves and water bodies. And I don't know, I keep saying, I don't know any serious country that allows mining in forest reserves. At least, not the way we do it. LI 2462 makes no sense. Evacuate miners from forest and water areas. Revoke LI 2462. Establish special courts for Galamsey cases. That's another thing. The AG recently took on, and in a way you could say, yeah, though he's part of the problem. But he made mention of it, that the process is slow in dealing with Galamseyers. The Chief Justice has come to respond. I don't care about either one of them. My problem is, let the system be there. After all, we had the fast-track court way back, corruption. Why can't we do that for Galamsey? To deal with it, to deal with the canker. How long will we wait? Ban small-scale mining. Next slide. And if you look at the strength of organized labor, if we sit down and allow this to happen, it's going to be chaos. The nation is going to come to its knees. Which is why I keep asking, why do we always want to wait? Play the waiting game. Now we are begging, oh, give us time. Which time? You're looking at 72 affiliated unions. From the TUC, now KNUST, UTAG, so many of them are saying, if you don't do the right thing, now we know what to do to force you to take action. Why do we have to get here? Especially for a president who put his presidency on the line for Galamsey. And all talk, be talk. Now, the sectors likely to be affected by something like this: education, health, communication, sanitation, public administration, transport. And it goes on and on. Now, if you look at the reality check in terms of effects, at least 16 major rivers have been polluted. Now, they look like either coffee or mocha or cappuccino or whichever one you want to. Or Ovaltine. Yeah. You have water bodies. The only thing is that you can't wake up in the morning, go with your cap and no, because you'll kill yourself. But we have natural Ovaltine in our environment. Clap for Ghana. Forest reserves, at least 8 are being mined illegally. And our political class, they know. Some of them are neck deep in it. And you and I will suffer the consequences. Let's go. Now, this is what I was referencing. You see, sometimes you look at the rhetoric, you pay attention to the rhetoric of our political actors, before and after, and you ask yourself, sa mama no sa papa no ono ani ana Because I've interacted with the Nyahu Nyahu Tamaklos, the Arthur Kennedys, and so many others, and they tell me, look, we were with this man back then, but now we don't recognize what is happening. Mr. President, I know you watch me. It's not too late to rethink some of these. It's not too late. We want you to do the right thing. We don't come here to criticize ad nauseum. We just want the right things done. That's all. No one has it in for you. No. September 10, 2014, Akufo-Addo had this to say: where it is necessary to criticize me, do not hesitate. Point out when things are going wrong. We can go to the next slide. Occupy Ghana has been pointing to you how long now, Mr. President? We in the media have been pointing out on Galamsey and other matters how long now? When will you act? And you could take criticism then, but now it's a different ballgame. Now, cocoa prices have also increased in the Ivory Coast. Recently, we had a bit of an increment. You see what is happening to us now on the back of low production, and the Ivorians are also taking advantage of it. Yes, you've put yourself in the position. You are at their mercy. So you increase it, they also go higher. Next slide. Shall we go to the next slide, please? So price per bag, we increased once we went to 3,000 Ghana cedis. According to Bloomberg and Reuters, they also increased it, 3,072. It means per every bag, right? They're adding 72 cedis. Incentive for smuggling. They will technically not say, but we know how these things happen. And our borders are porous. You see where we are? So to conclude, this is where we find ourselves as a country. And this is lamentable. It is sad. It is heartbreaking. But where do we go from here? If you look at cocoa smuggling, you would find out that 2022-2023, we're looking at 150,000 metric tons smuggled. It has increased by 10,000 metric tons. And if we don't contain it, if we don't rein it in, it will go higher. Nti bedru ha, enye kasa kwa o. Yate kwa o minor eboa, emongu omo amanone no omuti so, ebebo egu ya yetri so. And the politicians, they will travel and leave you. Then you do your gata to gata here. Mo amope NDC, MPP politics, propaganda. No. Then you do it here. You who can't go anywhere. Those ones with 5 megabytes data who will come and be talking all kinds of posh. You be the one stuck here. So the cocoa smuggling, we know what the reasons are. Delay in payments, and we are prone to that. Low prices paid for beans, and other countries are taking advantage of it. If we don't wake up and smell the coffee, disaster is on the horizon, and we shall all feel it. It will reach everybody. But we pray that we'll not get to that point. That Ghana will truly be great and strong and better. And I pray for the day we'll have better leaders, much better leaders, who will lift us up to that pedestal of being the great black star of Africa. My name is Benjamin Akapo. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. I know I've given some people chest pain. Don't have a heart attack. Cool down. It's all in the interest of God and country. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much for staying with us. We get into a critical health-related issue as we kickstart our big stories. The Ghana Health Service is urging all of us, the public, to remain vigilant as it has recorded 230 suspected cases of Mpox across 80 districts with 1 death confirmed. We shall now head to the Ghana Health Service and get the latest from them. We're hearing from, so we'll speak to Dr. Esiedu Bekwe, who is in charge of public health. We'll be interacting with him on that beat. Doc, a very good morning to you, sir. Hello, Doc.
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
It's great having you join the conversation. Let's just have a briefing on what the situation is. The 230 suspected cases, the 1 death, the 80 districts. Is that still the status quo? So it's
Okay,
88 districts, rather, 88.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for calling. I think that that's the whole summary is not the story. You see,
Doc, I can't hear you too well. I don't know whether it's from my end or yours, but
maybe it's from your end.
It's from my end.
Can you hear me
Okay,
now?
we'll work on it. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Please go ahead. Yes.
Yes. So the background that you gave is not the story.
It isn't?
You see, no. You see, we wrote a case rep, which is a technical report. So I think that people misinterpreted the report.
So please explain.
So let me, you see, 2022, Monkey became public health emergency of international concern. So countries were supposed to be placed on high alert to look for it. So we have been looking for mpox over the years. So for 2022, we had 120 cases. For 2023, we had 8. Then for 2024, but what we do is that on daily basis, we have a surveillance system that looks for diseases that can cause outbreak, and mpox is one of them. So for the period between 1st January to 1st October, we have picked 230 suspected cases, of which 1 is confirmed. There's no death. But these 230 has nothing to do with the confirmed case. So I think that clarity needs to be made.
So 1 case has been confirmed, but there's no death. There's no casualty.
There's no death. And even the suspected cases have nothing to do with the confirmed case. And the suspected cases that are spread in the 88 district. So I want the clarity to it. It is not that we have gotten 1 confirmed case, and out of it, we have gotten 230 suspected cases. Does it make sense? Hello?
I'm listening to you, Doc.
What I'm saying is that, and I think that clarity needs to be made. Between January 1st and 1st October, our surveillance system detected 230 suspected cases, of which 1 has become confirmed. So these 230 cases, they don't have a link with the 1 confirmed case. So I think that for now, as far as you're concerned, the country has only 1 confirmed case. They have 230 suspected cases that were sent to the lab, and they are negative. Our report was
okay, so let me hold you right there, because yes, indeed, I've read those statistics. But what you're saying, just to confirm with you, is that there was 1 confirmed case which led to 230 suspected cases?
No. And I think I've been struggling with it. You see, we have a surveillance system in the country that on a daily basis look for diseases. And from January to 1st of October, that system has identified 230 suspected cases that look like mpox. And these cases have been sent to the lab, and then they've been negative, except 1, which is confirmed positive. That report, what it means is that there's an active system who is continually looking for cases. But it's not linked to that confirmed case that we are talking about.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that clarity. So these are all different cases, right?
Yes, they are separate. And these suspected cases were the ones that have been found in the 88 districts. You understand? So it's like now, I'm sure we have about 200 measles suspected cases.
Right.
But that's not, it tells you that you have a system looking for the diseases. You understand? So for this one in question, it's 1 confirmed case. And of this 1 confirmed case, we have identified 25 contacts. So this is where the story starts. There's 1 confirmed case, and then 25 contacts.
The confirmed case, that means the person has successfully been given some treatment, so to speak, though technically, as far as I know, there's no real treatment. But the person has been dealt with and probably discharged. Is that the status now?
Yes. So this confirmed quickly. Normally, if you suspect a case, you send it to the lab. So here we have 2 labs in Ghana. We have Noguchi and we have our reference lab. This one was sent to our reference lab and it was confirmed positive. So if you are confirmed positive, you need to identify people who have gotten into contact with you. So those are the contacts. So for this case, you have identified 25 persons who are the health workers and then the friends in the community. So that is the story. So for this particular outbreak, there's 1 confirmed case of mpox and 25 contacts. So that is the story.
What is the status of the 25 contacts now?
They're all doing fine. I think today is day 4. Normally, we have to follow them up for 21 days. So there's a system in place who are following up on them.
But I want to know, the 25 cases, you say they are doing well, but the tests, what do they reveal? Are they positive or negative?
No. We don't normally test them. Normally, you test when the person shows symptoms. So what you do is you follow them up to the time that you show that they show symptoms. In that case, they become suspected cases, and then you test. So these people now, they are only contacts that we are following up, and today is day 4.
So just to confirm one more time, just for clarity, you are saying that as of now, Ghana has not recorded any mpox death, right?
No.
Okay.
But we have 1 confirmed case, 25 contacts. So that is the story. That 230 is a 230 based on a routine surveillance system that we identified. It was to show that we are continually looking for mpox, but it is not linked to this confirmed case. And I think this is very important. Yesterday I saw some communication going on, and I said, no, let's clarify this. So I'm happy that I spent some time to clarify.
Okay, so obviously there was some miscommunication somewhere or some misinterpretation.
Moving. Got the report. The one you took was a state rep, which is a bit a technical report. So at times you struggle to interpret it. But when you see, normally we do a press release, which is simpler for the public. What you saw was a state rep, which is a technical report. So at times it's a bit difficult to interpret.
I see. Tell me now, what then is the way forward in dealing with mpox? We've had 1 instance. I do not know whether you are satisfied of the 25 people you have now. I don't know whether it is to say quarantined, because is it possible that there could be other contacts that have not been reached?
Okay, so if you confirm a case, you try to identify more contacts as persons who have been in physical contact with the case, or people who have been in contact with the beddings or clothing of that case. So based on that context, that we have identified is 25. We keep on talking to more. So for now, it's 25. It's possible by tomorrow we'll get to 26. But what I'm saying is that these are the 25 that we have gotten. So mpox in particularly demonstrates by skin manifestations. So you see a skin discoloration, and then you may see like a small rash. You may see like a pimple. It may be becomes like a boil. Then if you go inside, it may burst. And then you realize that later on it forms like a trash. So normally taking mpox will take about 2 to 4 weeks for it to resolve and to leave like some scars on a person. So cases of mpox, typically about 90% of them are not severe. So if you look at the one that we had in Ghana, the 120 in 2022, most of them were not severe. So you get rashes, you go to the hospital, they give treatment, and you go home. So that is it. But there are few that become severe that may need to admission. This one in particular was admitted for 2 days because when he had the rash, the guy used some blade to cut, and then that got infected, and that's how he was admitted. So after 2 days, he was discharged. So if you have mpox, first what they do is they isolate you because that's to avoid contact, and then you are managed. But when it comes to the contact, you do not isolate contact. You keep a close eye on them, you monitor them, and then you make sure that when they get symptoms, you classify them as suspected, and then you take samples. So that's the way we manage. So if you talk about mpox, the main class is avoid contact. So physical contact like shaking, kissing, hugging, no. And then you also make sure you avoid beddings and clothing of that infected person.
I know that in some countries in Africa, Uganda, Burundi, Rwanda, I think the Congo as well, it's been pretty prevalent. In Ghana, we've not had a scourge of Mpox. But where did this person who contracted it from? Was it right here in Ghana, or did the person come from somewhere? I'm just curious.
So our investigation has not been able to establish the source for now. We are still investigating. So basically, we try to find out, is it from another person, which in this case would have been the primary case. For now, we are not able to establish. Two, you try to establish whether has there been any sexual contact. This is a 15-year-old guy. He has no history of sexual contact. So for now, that is also not clear. Then you try to establish whether there's any travel history. He's not traveled within the past 21 days. So we are so searching. But there are a lot of outbreaks that you are not able to establish the source. So what you do is that try to make sure that you cut the spread of the infection. So that's why for now, we are trying to identify all the contacts and follow them up.
Okay, so by what you've said, I just want you to share, for the sake of public information, how is it contracted? You've talked about sex. So in maybe contact with the skin and all of that pus, just share with our viewing public so that they can also be aware as they go out there.
So the lesions can be on the skin and let's say within the mouth and even the anal region and maybe the vaginal area. So so the common one is the physical contact. So as you embrace, as you kiss, as you sleep somebody, then there could be transmission of secretion between the two individuals. So that's why when you look at that, it's about contact. So you could physical contact or sexual contact. And that's the way you can have the disease spread. And in the other countries, it's common between like men with men. But for now, Ghana, we don't have that evidence.
Okay. So you're saying that homosexuality is also one of because in other jurisdictions, it's common between men and men.
So there's some evidence that, as I said, because the lesions can be found within the anal region and the vaginal region. So so as you have that sexual contact, whether it's a man to man or a woman to man, you can have there's a risk factor that you need to avoid.
Okay. Let's conclude before you give us your final thoughts. We've also heard that you have resource constraints as far as contact tracing is concerned. How bad or how much better is the situation now in terms of contact tracing and the resources to actually execute this? Because without that, the 230 or so we are talking about, the 25 and all of that, it means there may be loopholes we may not be filling. Tell us about that, please.
Okay, so please, your name?
Benjamin.
Yes, Benjamin. So I don't want us to mention the 230 again. I think I've spent some time to explain. So for now, we can talk about the one case and the 25 contacts. What, you see, that document...
No, but when I mentioned the 230, I'm not saying cases. I'm merely saying, according to what you said, who were suspected, but it turned out that just one was confirmed. Is that not what you said?
Yeah, but okay, when it comes to management, it's a different issue. But fine, we see that report that we normally share. Normally we share it with partners and other key stakeholders. It's all great resources. So for now, there's no obvious challenge about getting, let's say, resources for this particular outbreak, because we are looking at a bigger picture as a country. Because if you have a confirmed case in a country, you need to look at it in that large perspective. So we have activated our national response plan, trying to make sure that all the thematic areas of surveillance, case management, lab, and logistics are all ready. So that's what we are trying to do. We had a meeting with our partners 2 days ago to make sure that we see how we can mobilize resources for it. But for now, for this particular outbreak, we don't seem to have any constraints.
You don't have constraints for now in terms of Mpox outreach?
For this one case, 25 cases, no. But what we are saying is that because we are looking at it as an outbreak in the country, you need to look at it holistically and say, what are your issues? So we need to mobilize that resource, and we have a national response plan that we are going to work on.
Maybe the final bit to you, just the regions. We got a picture that it was widespread. Is it across all the regions in Ghana, the suspected cases, so that we know where they came from and all that? Did it cut across the country, or was it just in a narrow?
The regions, okay, let me go again. The regions have no case now. The regions, what we reported were suspected cases that were sent to the lab and they are negative. So we don't have a case in the region.
Doc, that is exactly what I'm asking you. I'm not saying they had cases. I'm saying the suspected ones. They were from all across, right? Was it across the length and breadth of Ghana?
Yes, 88 districts.
Okay.
Because, you know, chickenpox is I would say, a differential diagnosis. So some of them, you ended up, oh, it's not mpox, it's chickenpox. Some can come out as measles. So they are differential diagnoses, but you capture them as suspected cases. Okay. And it's very important, and that's what we do at epidemiology. So what is a lab that will tell you that, what is suspected as mpox is not mpox, but your report is captured as suspected.
Doc, we're grateful for your time. Thank you for the clarity, and thank you for making time to explain to us what exactly is happening. That is Dr. Franklin Asiedu-Bekwai, and he, of course, is Director of Public Health with the Ghana Health Service. He joined the conversation this morning. We're coming into the studio now to continue the conversation from here. On a different front, we're going to be hearing from Dr. Abu Sakara Foster of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. He is questioning the EC for muting the voices of independent candidates at IPAC. He had a bit of a release in recent times, and he joins us with his thoughts. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
You've been listening to this conversation patiently, so I'll start from there before I get into the substantive matter. I know you have some thoughts on your mind in respect of mpox and what Dr. Franklin Asiedu-Bekwai has been saying.
What I found strange was that they were not able to identify the original source, which suggests that either the person got it spontaneously from nobody, or if he did get it from somebody who is not in the 25 list that they're monitoring, then that person is still wandering around somewhere. You know? So I think that, for me, that is a big issue that we should pay attention to, because as far as we know, you just can't get it from nowhere. You have to have got it from somewhere. And now they've monitored the 25 cases around him. None of them have it. So who did he get it from?
That's an interesting...
And where is that person now?
And that's exactly...
Who else is that person contacting? Right. So before you can confidently say that it is only one case, you can say that if you've identified where they got it from and closed it off. But if you've not, then you don't know that that original person is not still out there affecting other people.
Right.
Logically speaking.
And we're going to take a bit of a breather, though. Let's take a breather. When we return, we'll continue with that IPAC-related conversation. Do stay. Welcome back. Now, our seniors, we ought to celebrate them. And as with wine, life gets better with age. The Aviation Social Center did it last year, and guess what? They are back at it again. They are doing it in 2024. In commemoration of the International Day of Older Persons 2024, Fifth Sense Strategies and the Aviation Social Center Limited present Seniors Day Out, 2nd edition. The date is Saturday, October the 5th, 2024. The theme, Our Place, that's the short theme. The venue is the Aviation Social Center, and it's between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Activities include free health, self-care, wellness, gentle aerobics, seniors reflexology and massages, outdoor intellectual and fun games, a live band for dance lovers, buffet lunch or buffets, and many more. Tickets are available at the front desk of the Aviation Social Center at 200 Ghana cedis, with everything inclusive. This is open to all retirees or pensioners, associations, old school groups, and senior citizens of Ghana that is 60 years and above. So come with your parents, your grannies, your great-grannies, your grandpas, great-grandpas for a good time. This event is brought to you by Fifth Sense Strategies in partnership with the Aviation Social Center, Bracebridge Consult, and the Association of Ghana's Elders. Seniors Day Out is proudly sponsored by GT Bank, SNIT, the VRA, Verna Mineral Water, Dragnet, and Hits 103.9 FM. You can reach out to us via telephone on 0551. Okay, I'll bring you that number later. But let me come back into the studio and have a conversation with Dr. Abu Sakara Foster of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. So here we are. You've shared your thoughts on MPOX. Let's get into the substantive issue, which has to do with the IPAC gathering and what happened there. So many things happened. I don't even know where to start. But why did you even put this out, this statement of sorts? Just tell us about it.
Well, I think there were at least 3 or 4 reasons. And it was a conditional statement of a status of affairs. Because I felt that if the whole purpose of the IPAC is to simply endorse the EC position and not reconsider the EC position, just because we are able to mobilize some parties to support your position, then it will be a sham. And therefore, you know, we need to do better than that. Secondly, you know, when you say inter-party, what is really the purpose of the IPAC?
But before you go on,
yes,
before you even get into
yes,
the purpose of the IPAC, what makes you think that, and I'm trying to find what you shared
yes,
that day. I want to read certain portions. Yes, here it is. You use some very strong language. You say, IPAC is a sham.
I said,
if only,
yes,
no, I'm reading.
Yes.
IPAC is a sham, if only used to justify the EC's predetermined position. The use of, and you put into quotation marks, rent a party, participants, to blindly support its position without cogent arguments is a disgrace and not a debate. The very composition of IPAC, which effectively mutes the voice of independent candidates in the electoral contest, is questionable. Let me pause there.
Yes.
Why would you say this? Based on what evidence?
First of all, 2 things. If you come defending a position without the intention to redress that position, then what is the point of calling people in the first place? That's number 1. The second part of it is that we all know that certain smaller political parties take up certain positions in consonance with the EC. Why does this happen all the time? And it happens election after election. So we can't have people there who are not making cogent arguments, but who are just there to support the EC position. That's the second part. The third issue, which I mentioned to you, is that if it is inter-party, then it means that independent candidates are excluded in their representation. And what is the purpose of the meeting? It is to look at the procedures, processes, and rules governing the contest of the election. And are the independent candidates not contestants? Did they not pay the same fee as everybody else? Why should they not have representation in those meetings? So it is, first of all, important that the function of the EC is fulfilled to the full, to ensure that there's inclusivity and that there is a real consideration to say that, look, if these errors amount to significant outcomes that could change the result of the election, then they should be redressed.
Hold there.
Yes.
You've mentioned a number of things. I just want to still go back to the point of what makes you think that this setup, at least what was telecast live, was predetermined.
Yeah.
That parties were rented and all of that. I listened to some of the comments and I was taken aback. But I want to find out, you can't just listen to somebody and say, because the person is speaking this way, then they've been paid or they've been rented, so to speak.
First of all, we said there was no cogent argument. When people begin to make an argument against a position, it should not be just, I don't like you and I don't like what you say, and therefore I'm supporting this person. You should come with cogent arguments about my position, are you with me, and why you think that it has no significant impact on the outcome of the election. Not simply to harass somebody else because they have a different opinion and support the EC automatically. And this brings me to another point, which is side issue. We really must take a critical look at who we allow to contest for presidential elections and make sure that certain standards are adhered to. We cannot pride ourselves on having a multi-party election just because we allow anybody to contest for the election. So there should be some real standards to make sure that we do not reduce this to a level where any Tom, Dick, and Harry who has 100,000 can contest.
Okay, so
yes.
I get that point, and I agree with you.
Yes.
Because I'm sorry to say, maybe I shouldn't be sorry to say it. You listen to some of these people who put themselves forward, and sometimes I sit here with some of them and interview them, and I scratch my head, and this person wants to be president? You know, this, I mean, I'm not denigrating anybody, but some of them come and sit here, and it is clear. It is clear. But that aside, the Constitution has its standards. And if they meet those standards and then they are also able to meet the other requirements as per our electoral laws, they do qualify. Unless you're suggesting that we should change those. Well, then we could have a conversation.
Yeah. You have a basic modicum of standards, are you and me? But we all know that standards are not the lowest common denominator. You're supposed to aspire to the highest common denominator so that you improve the stock of people who aspire for it. So you cannot just set the base standard and then be working at the base standard. You have to have in place other mechanisms and tools which try to encourage the development of people and also of the institution itself. So I don't subscribe to this idea that a free-for-all means that we have a real democracy. That's not what a democracy is about. Are you with me? So I think that we need to set some standards and also to ensure that we do not populate the election with just any number of people because we want to be called a multi-party democracy. We do not allow just anybody to be participating.
So quality over quantity?
Well, I would say standards. The quality of standards should be upheld.
Okay, but how will these changes be effected? You still not told me how exactly we get there. What would be the roadmap? Let's say let's assume you were president now.
Yes.
What would you do?
I think the first point is that we need to be serious about the standards for contesting for presidential and ensure that people actually have parties and they're not single one-man briefcase parties. And that when we go down to the grassroots, they do have the organizational network. This was the whole basis of the argument for funding for political parties so that they can maintain those structures at the lower levels and begin, grooming the people who will come up through them so that by the time they get up to the top, they meet those higher standards that we're talking about. We don't have that. And at the same time, because we're sticking to this basic standard, anybody who can muster up that money comes up, and they qualify or don't qualify.
And you admit that also applies for the independent presidential candidate?
Every presidential candidate. I don't know why we like to treat the independent candidates as different. That's because
it's not a different treatment. You are calling for equal rights, so to speak, across the board. So I just wanted to be sure that you are saying that this should cut across, because you talk about one-man briefcase parties.
Yes.
And some of these independent candidates
don't have quite but even the so-called, you know as well as I do, that you can have a party in quotes, which doesn't really qualify as a party.
Right.
Maybe we can be people are a bit lenient and allow it to qualify. But the long and short of it is, independent candidature is a different mechanism of contesting for presidential. It does not require you to have party structures in the formal sense. But that does not mean that you don't need grassroots organizational structures to be able to contest.
Right.
So these are some of the things which we say, look, maybe even 2 years beforehand, all those people who are going to contest for the next election, we should register them 2 years beforehand so that you have time, are you and me, to go down and check to make sure that all these structures exist. And also, you know, you allow them the time to build those structures and be in the game in a real way and not just in a superficial way. Because at the end of the day, you know, you need to be able to make sure that people who are contesting genuinely are contesting for the purpose of enhancing our democracy and not for any other reason.
There is talk on the street, and I've heard so many people talk about it, even people who walk the corridors of power, very prominent people. I have also taken time to notice a few things, and I think to some extent I subscribe to that thinking. Some people say that a lot of these candidates, especially those who go independent, especially for the presidency, not even for the parliamentary, they don't do it because they actually think they will win the election. For them, it is business. Business from different angles. Business from the standpoint of, I am here, I am being sponsored by one of the two big parties. And it is both of them. We hear stories that maybe, Jumanama, other party. This one too is going to do for the other party. To water votes, to cause dissent, to say things that will create problems for the other party. Right? And for some others too, it is for their personal business in the sense of, even travel. Some of them use it to do things. I'm a former presidential candidate, the tag.
VIP.
So the talk is that a lot of these people are not doing it because they have the structures, have even maybe the intellectual capacity, or think they can do this, or think they'll ever become president. They're just doing it for business.
Well,
what is your take on it?
I think the first thing is that if you do not have a cause for which you strive, which is of a national interest, then you have no business contesting for presidential candidacy. That does not mean to say people don't have their personal motivations for contesting on top of that. The problem we have is when there is no cause, and it's all personal motivations. I think that is the problem we're talking about and you're describing.
Indeed.
And, you know, it is clear that in a large measure, that is the case because even when people contest consecutively, their votes are reducing. And you're wondering, why is this person still contesting when his votes have more than halved, you know? So at the end of the day, there is no law banning anybody from pitching camp in order to support another party. But in the electoral process, are you with me? We should make it clear. If you want an alliance with so, yeah, so be it. But let's make it clear. In which case, you know, then you don't come on the ticket. You go, you know, to support this one. You know, but those are the things which we should be doing. Are you with me? To improve the democratic process so that it is not cluttered with all these, you know, self-interested things that you're describing. And we need to get rid of some of those things. Now, the principal issue about the IPAC is that it is set up for a consensus building amongst political parties, which automatically means that the independent candidates do not have their own representatives in there. Now, the question is that they are all contestants in the same race, and the principal business of the Electoral Commission is to ensure free and fair elections. Are you with me? So the issue about building consensus among political parties is good, it's nice, etc., but your principal business is to ensure free and fair elections. So how can you be building consensus over there when some of the people who are contesting in an election you are going to supervise are not fully represented there? So I think there's an abnormality, and if your objective is to fulfill the function of ensuring free and fair elections and the rules and regulations to be understood by everybody, etc., and build consensus on that, then you should either change the name of IPAC to say, call it presidential candidates. Are you with me? And they all come there and have something else for parliamentary candidates to represent themselves. Then whether you're independent or you belong to a party, you are all represented. So that is an issue that we want to put aside. Now,
So you're talking, you mentioned, for example, that if you look at even the balloting the last time, independent candidates had to be, some of you felt relegated to the background because then they had to finish with the parties before they came to the other candidates.
What is the point?
And the EC did acknowledge that maybe moving forward it would have a different mechanism.
What is the point of balloting? To give everybody an equal and fair chance. The laws of probability. But if the laws of probability is that you've reserved some of the places, then automatically I cannot get a position there. Let's assume that those places even have any advantage. Are you with me? So it automatically assumes that those ones at the top have greater advantage than those at the bottom. And yet they all pay the same fee. They're all going to contest among the same electorate. So in principle, let them all, just choose for the balloting. And everybody has a fair chance. It should not be that you have 3 independent candidates at the bottom. And by the way, you mentioned the issue about the independent candidates. There are only 3. Are you with me? The smaller parties are much more than the independent candidates. And I'm very keen to see in this election whether the independent candidates will get more votes than some of those smaller political parties. And you should interrogate that. Are you with me? So if it so happens that an independent candidate who has not got a party, are you with me, is able to get much more votes than a smaller party, what is the justification then for saying that the independent candidate can only choose a ballot paper after that smaller party?
Let me quickly slot this in. If I take a look at what you've written here, the very composition of IPAC, you say it mutes the voice of independent contestants. Then you talk about the fact that if this requires, like you rightly mentioned, the name of IPAC to be changed to reflect its true function and purpose, then so be it. The EC must not be left with the full luxury of creating contrived, and I'm using your words, contrived institutions and instruments that bolster its position as an unchallenged referee in a match where it is perceived to have vested interests and a weighted hand by virtue of its intransigence to full transparency. I am stating this vis-a-vis IPAC's relevance. Is IPAC living up to expectation? You know how this was set up under Dr. Afari-Jan and how, the whole bit about let's have that consensus. Though IPAC technically does not deliver an obligatory decision for the EC. The EC will look at it, but at least the political parties get to confer. Is IPAC living up to its expectations?
Before I comment on that, the issue relevant to what I said was whether it is contrived or not. It was created by the EC.
What was created by the EC?
IPAC.
Okay, all right.
It was not that the political parties got together and said, wouldn't it be nice if we have a consultative mechanism? Let's form our...
No, that's why I'm mentioning Dr. Afari-Jan and the whole idea of political parties come on board.
I'm making the point that the EC contrived to form this as a way of creating consensus building among the contestants of the electoral process so that by the time you get there, there's less rancor. However, it leaves out independent candidates, their own representatives. And this is a point that we have made. Secondly, whether IPAC is fulfilling its function or not depends on, the power that IPAC has. If we, the contestants, all agree that, look, this starting line is a bit crooked. Some people have got 1 foot and some people have lost 1 foot. Please make it straight for all of us. Are you with me? And you say, no, this is my convention. I like, curved lines. Are you with me? Then we have no power, irrespective of what we are saying. And that is where basically we have to decide whether or not a majority vote in IPAC is mandatory on the EC. Now, the problem we have...
Do you think it should be? Do you think it should be that whether in some or all instances, if the majority of the parties there or the candidates there decide that EC, you want to do this, but we don't want this, the EC should
provided within the regulatory framework within which the EC operates. If it is a convention that the EC has set up, and they don't want it, then the EC should change because it is not bound by law in the first place. It's a convention.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
However, you know, if it is something against the law, obviously the EC cannot accede to that. But the point I'm making in between these points is that you should take the majority into consideration, the majority view. Now, the problem we have is when some people there are not necessarily there in order to have a fair contest, but just to support A or B, then you find that they're influencing the majority away from a decision that should be the correct one. The second problem we have is when even those people who are the main protagonists, are you with me, in opposition see that the line is crooked, but in incumbency, they don't see anything wrong with the line. Are you with me? That is also another issue. And that's where we need to be a bit principled to say that no, whether in opposition or in government, we should all start off at the same line.
Okay.
And those are principles that we must adhere to.
Let me get to this point because I listened to quite a chunk, especially the start of the interactions. LPG's, Liberal Party of Ghana's Kofi Akpaloo started speaking. It was a straight attack, a beeline for the NDC. And I think he asked them to speak to the issues before any others speak and whether they have anything else on it. I also found it interesting when Ikuya spoke because I didn't hear the element of what was at stake. What I heard was targeted, you could even call them attacks, insults, and wide support for the EC, like you said, without making any point. But it was just, you know, why are you disturbing this woman? And without making points about, oh, I think because of what I have heard and what has been delivered, I think it is this. That makes me come to something else you put down. You talk about the fact that the political parties, okay, so I'll just try to find that portion. Whilst the NIM, that is the National Interest Movement, fully endorses the NDC's position for an independent external audit of the register, I must stress that this must be adopted as a routine institutional arrangement before every election.
Yes.
So every 4 years.
Yes.
Not 8 years, every 4
Yes.
years.
Every time you want to use the electoral register.
Do you still stand by the position that we need that external forensic audit?
Well,
at this point.
Yeah, I think that people misinterpret what external means. They probably think that we should go to, you know, London or wherever and go and bring some foreign body here to come and, you know,
it's just something outside the EC.
What we're saying is that you, the referee, cannot be the one who tells us that the line is straight.
Right.
If we all see it is not straight and we're the contestants and we're telling you the line is not straight, are you with me? And you want to say it's straight, then let's bring some other people in. Are you
so this could be electoral VAR.
Indeed.
bring in VAR to confirm.
You see, because the problem we have is that once it's a matter of convention and the EC takes a position and, you know, the decisions of the IPAC are not binding, there's nothing forcing the EC to comply. Now, what we are saying basically is that it's only important because it can have an impact on the election. And that is the part which I think we need to focus on. Because at the end of the day, what are we really talking about here? We're talking about names of people who are not on the right location, at the right polling station. They've been transferred somewhere else. We're talking of names of people who are supposed to have been deceased who are still there, or somebody who is alive whose name has been put on the deceased list, etc. And so many other incidences. Now, you and I know, sitting here, Ben, that our outcome of the election is decided by 50% plus one. Plus one. It didn't say plus 100, plus 1,000.
Well, it's actually
200,000.
more than 50% because 50% plus one is technically, if you look at the percentage, we say it's 50% plus one, but it should just be more than 50%. That's it.
Well, no, what I'm saying...
Else it may be negligible in the...
Yes,
but you go.
Yes, you see, but the point here is that the magnitude of the difference between two contestants is reduced to only one vote to decide the outcome of the election. Are you with me? Which means that any issue that can influence the election by more than one vote, are you with me? It's consequential.
Right.
So if 100 people or even 10 people were transferred from my polling station to that polling station, and because of the confusion, you couldn't vote, and 10 votes which should have come to you have come to me, are you with me? And I win by 1 vote or 9 votes, then it means that I'm not the real winner of the election. And if you had got those 10 votes, you would have won.
Right.
Are you with me?
And that is especially consequential in our parliamentary elections, where people have won
just
seats
majority,
with
exactly.
3 votes, 5 votes,
exactly.
8 votes.
Exactly. So that is the area that we should focus on. This issue, by how much can it affect the election? And if it is a big amount, and those issues are still in the electoral register, and we cannot agree that they can have a consequence on the election, then we should bring in other people and make it a roundtable discussion where the EC does not have an unchallenged referee position. Do you get my point? So that is basically what we are saying. And I think that it is only fair at this point to say that, look, the EC should simply yield. After all, if you're intransigent about something, it suggests that maybe you have something to hide. I'm not saying that they have something to hide, but I'm saying the very attitude of reluctance. If I've taken something from here and, you said, oh, I want to search your pockets before you go. And I said, no, you can't search my pockets. You begin to suspect that I have that thing in my pocket. Are you with me? But if I pull out my pockets and show you have nothing with me, then you say, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Are you?
But let me ask you this, as we get ready to wind down on this conversation. You talk about fumigating the electoral register.
Indeed.
Fumigation.
Yes.
Of the electoral register. The EC at the IPAC came through that, look, the NDC especially came through with a number of points. It has admitted to 3 issues. We have worked on them. These are the results. If there are any others, we'll work on them. And they also say there's going to be a re-exhibition online, not necessarily another exhibition where you go physically, but you can check your details online. Is that not fumigation enough?
Well, the first point is this. Why did it have to take all this pressure, are you with me, to get those 3 points acceded to? That's point number 1. The second point is that having acceded to those 3 points, does that mean that there are no issues there that can have any consequence on the election? If they are embedded issues, then we should go deeper into it. And that's why I use the word fumigation, because sometimes you can clean the top, but they are actually inside the woodwork. So we need to be able to re-examine the register to make sure that those are not embedded issues. You can have something that occurs as an incident. The frequency is low. And therefore, if you clean it, are you with me? The register is clean. You can also have something that occurs at a slightly higher frequency, but it has a particular pattern, in which case it is embedded, are you with me, in the registration process. And to be able to detect that pattern, you need to look at the whole of the data. You can't decide what a pattern is by looking at just a segment of it. And this is the key issue at hand. If we have found that in constituency A, there have been, transfers of polling stations, people in polling stations from one area to the other, are you with me? That is where we found it. Has it occurred in other places?
Right.
Unless we examine those other places carefully with respect to this, we won't know. And if we do find that it has occurred in places beyond that constituency, it means that the results will not only be affected in that constituency, but it could also be affected nationwide, which means it could have an impact on the presidential as well. So this is where...
So just clarify for me, you're still calling for an external audit?
I am not calling for the external audit simply because we want to call for an external audit.
No, I'm just saying...
I'm calling for an external audit on the principle that we should have it as a routine part of our process, so that at the end of the day, there is no feeling, are you with me, that the referee is also a player. So if you open up and you're transparent about it, then, nobody can say anything. Because don't forget, not so far in the distant past, our very EC, who is sitting on seat now, when she was sitting at IEA, are you with me, made a very strong and cogent argument for an external audit of the register. So my question is, what has changed? You know, if it was relevant then, it's still relevant now. And it is not a matter of whether the register is clean or is not clean. It is a question of whether the contestants and their felt need to see that they are satisfied with the level of, what would I say, inspection and interrogation of the register.
We have to go. I just want you to quickly, in less than a minute, deal with these issues for me. Alan has unveiled Kwame Osudanzo as his running mate, young person. A number of parties are doing that. What led to this decision? A very young man. He's actually someone I know, someone I interact with. And when you look at, you've pointed to a number of things. For example, Jean Mensa, back then, IEA boss versus now. How would you rate her work on a scale of 1 to 10? Both of them in just a minute for me.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't want to, I don't like throwing figures out there.
How would you assess her work, briefly?
No, I think that as far as her work at IEA was concerned, I interacted with her for a longer period, and I saw that there was a lot of consistency in the issues that she was
Do you see that
championing.
consistency now?
Unfortunately, I don't see that consistency now, simply because the same issues she was championing, she's not championing it to the same degree and intensity. Now, there could be some other issues, but for the time being, I would say that she should revert back to her old self, are you with me? And pursue those things to their natural conclusion, because at the end of the day, it doesn't take anything away from you. It only bolsters the reputation that you have already established and your credibility.
All right. And so in other words, the Jean Mensa you knew then and some of what is happening now.
No, I'm saying that some of the issues that are happening now are not consistent with the Jean Mensa I knew. And I want her to return to her old self and ensure that she's consistent and builds her credibility.
We have to go. Let's do Kwame Osudanzo.
That is his choice. And, you know, at the end of the day, he said he wanted a younger person. In response to what the youth were calling for. We had some other younger people that we would have given him as well, are you with me? But that's not the issue for me. The issue really is the level of intensity of the campaign. And visibility of the campaign, are you with me? To achieve the impact that we want as a third force and to be the basis for the emergence of a third force.
All right.
And my focus now is on ensuring that the parliamentary level, and I told you this a long time ago, that one of the ways in which we can help a third force emerge is by promoting the parliamentary level. So that's my focus now.
You've mentioned that.
Thank you.
Doc, thank you so much. Dr. Abu Sakara Foster is the leader of the National Interest Movement. He is also with the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. He joined us with his thoughts on IPAC, the Electoral Commission, and more. Before we segue into our next conversation, Ghana, get ready for the biggest giveaway from Syntex Tank. Syntex is visiting 15 communities, giving them free water. This is to say, thank you, Ghana, for making us #1. Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana, but did you also know that Syntex tanks came in so many colors and were the first to come out with inner white layers? Did you know that? So if it's not Syntex, forget about it. Now, if you're a community and you want to benefit from the Syntex free water giveaway, just log on to their social media handles at Syntex Ghana and nominate your community. The more you nominate, the better the chances of Syntex coming to that community. Remember, it is SINTEX, Syntex Tank. No be any tank be tank. The correct tank be Syntex Tank. Syntex Tank, are you strong? Are you tough? Oh, we have more tough stuff coming your way shortly on the AM show. You want to stay for that.
You're still watching the AM show on Joy News. And right before we get into our next conversation, I'll have you know that the Energy Commission and Ministry of Energy, in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service and Ghana TVET Service, presents the 5th edition of the Energy Commission Senior High School's Renewable Energy Challenge. And this challenge aims to develop the research skills of senior high school students and promote technological innovation in renewable energy, competing fiercely in this thrilling competition at the following schools: Obuasi Senior High and Technical School, St. James Seminary Senior High School, Ola Girls Senior High School, Hantaman Girls Senior High School, Pando Senior High School, and Dabukba Technical Institute. You want to join us for the grand finale on Tuesday, October 8th, 2024 at the Accra International Conference Center. Or you can also catch the broadcast live on Joy News at 9 a.m. This event is proudly supported by GIZ, Ashesi University, French Development Agency, and the VRA. Now let's talk about the 9th African Nutrition Conference 2024, which has been in existence for a little over 20 years now, held every 2 years. In the studio with me to discuss this is Reverend Dr. Tom Indanu. He's Senior Research Fellow of University of Ghana Dental School and a member of the Board of Trustees for the ANS. And we also have Professor Paul Amuna. He is from the Department of Family and Community Health at the University of Health and Allied Sciences. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So now let's talk. I know we were chatting a bit before we came on air, but let's, for the benefits of our audience, let me start with you, Prof. Prof, what is this African Nutrition Conference really about?
Right, thank you very much, and thanks to your listeners and viewers. The Africa Nutrition Conference is actually a flagship conference of the African Nutrition Society.
Okay.
And this
is the ANS.
The ANS. And the society is made up of scientists, people working in the field of nutrition, food science, and related fields across the continent. And this conference is the leading scientific meeting on nutrition in Africa. And it was muted by the African Nutrition Society because the landscape in Africa was one of an empty field where you have a lot of young scientists wanting to go to conferences, to learn and to network in nutrition, and they have to travel abroad.
Yeah.
And we felt that we should actually bring the world-leading scientists to Africa. And so if you look at the lineup for the ANC 2024, you find out that it is made up of experts from all over the world.
Okay.
But it is a conference organized in Africa on nutrition by Africans.
A conference for Africans organized by Africans and for Africans. I like that. And you've been doing this for, I said, a little over 20 years now, Reverend. Would you say that you've been able to meet your targets in terms of the fallouts from these conferences that you've had over the years and how they've actually impacted our lives in Africa?
Yes.
How so?
Let me start by saying that we have managed to produce top nutritionists on the continent. That through the society, we've pushed to be at the echelon of World Health and Nutrition Fora, where our people stood shoulder to shoulder, as members of ANS from the continent, has stood shoulder to shoulder to discuss health, nutrition issues, where some of the decisions that were made at some of our conferences were brought to bear on the final decision, even at the WHO. Okay. So thus we say, but the best part of it is that we have given a forum for the nutrition experts on the continent to interact with the best outside the world, over the world. Now, they are learning from us, things that we have done that has been very successful. We are also learning from them, the successful things they have done. So I can say that we are almost at par in addressing nutrition issues pertaining to the continent.
Okay.
So we are in it, and we know.
We are better equipped and able to speak about the issues that affect us as Africans.
Exactly. So
and the theme for this year is interesting. It says food and nutrition in a challenging world, implications for nutrition security and health in Africa. Tell me a bit about this. And you were telling me that at these conferences, when you organize them, you have food scientists, researchers who share their new findings, new research, with the rest of the world or the continent, so that we are not just playing catch-up like Africa does in all other sectors. Tell me a bit more about the theme, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much. And but before I go to the theme, let me just touch on something that Reverend
has mentioned in terms of the impact that the society and its work and the conference has produced. Through our society and the conferences, we have produced world-renowned experts like Professor Analati, who became the head of the nutrition division of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. She also became the president of the International Union of Nutritional Sciences.
That's a success
And from humble beginnings with this particular society and the conference and things like that. And then, in addition to that, we have other people. At the University of Ghana today, we have one of the leading stars in the field of public health nutrition, Professor Amos La. We also have Richmond Aiti. These are all people who are influencing nutrition across the world.
And will they be at the conference?
They will be at the conference. And indeed, Professor Analate is receiving the Global International Nutrition Prize called the Nevin Scrimshaw Award. Scrimshaw was one of the leaders in nutrition in the world who actually identified and trained Africans to become leaders in nutrition.
Okay.
And we offer the Scrimshaw Award. I also want to add that the United Nations established the Scaling Up Nutrition system. And the African Nutrition Society was a founding member of the group that came up with the ideas for scaling up nutrition. And so we have continued to make a lot of impact. And we also have links with the African Nutrition Leadership Program, which is based in Potchefstroom at Northwestern University in South Africa. So, and to come back to the theme of the conference.
I see, if I leave you keep going on and on about the impact and how important it is. But I mean, we cannot underplay it. We are facing looming food crisis in this country, and of course, it feeds into nutrition. Yes. So I think it's an interesting choice of theme: the implications of nutrition security and health in Africa. Tell us more.
Yes. So a few years ago, at the United Nations General Assembly, there was this focus on food systems transformation across countries and how this relates to food security and nutrition. And as we all know, in Africa, we have known and lived with problems of food insecurity, poverty, malnutrition, and so on. But at the same time, in developing countries, and particularly in regions such as in Africa, we also have a growing trend in non-communicable diseases. You know, so diseases related to obesity and diabetes and all these issues have been growing. All these are related to our food systems. And so at the same time as we are looking at links between agriculture, food production, and the distribution of this across to the lowest common denominator, at the same time we are looking at the excesses also. And so this theme is a broad theme, but it comes under 4 tracks, you know, which include nutrition and health. And we are also very much focused on nutrition training. And so one of the key areas for this conference will be to look at the changing trends in the training of nutritionists, dietitians, and other people working in that space, and to see how we can influence, you know, improvements in the quality of training, and of course, bringing research evidence to inform how we do our business.
Prof, you've set it up really nicely. I'm sure our audience would want to attend, and you know, they're eager to hear the outcomes of this conference. So, Reverend, tell us a bit more about, the details of the conference. You said this is the 3rd time you're hosting it in Ghana.
Exactly.
And this time you're going to Cape Coast, the University of Cape Coast. That's interesting. So when is it happening? Where? Who can attend? Are you selling tickets? Just give us the little nitty-gritty about this event.
Well, let me begin with Cape Coast.
Okay.
We are Cape Coast University is hosting the program. And the main center will be at the NEC, Examination Center. So that's where it starts from. It actually starts from the 7th. Formally starts from on the 7th, I think, to the 10th.
11th.
But the 11th. But then we have pre-conferences which start from on the 5th tomorrow. Okay. We have 2 days of pre-conference activities, whilst the actual.
What goes into the pre-conference?
Well, the pre-conference will be specific for institutions that we want to hold
workshops and seminars, and then a training program. So we put it out there on our website, and people register and then they attend. So it starts tomorrow, and then some of us from here, we are going back, we are going to the court campus, and on Sunday, we have another one. But on Sunday, there's going to be a community engagement program. We choose a particular community, interact with them, and have a debate. There's going to be some of debates. There was going to be the conference activity from Monday to the Thursday, and we have a post-conference activities, which is also another form of workshop. In fact, I will be running one of them on research and statistics for the young scientists. So it's well packed, and we invite people to please do their best. Who can attend? If you work in the field of nutrition, dietetics, food science, health, agriculture, there are a lot of teams and sub-teams that you fit. So all of them are invited, whether you are in Greenland or in Papua New Guinea or in Ghana. Once you've heard you are interested in nutrition, you are invited. You qualify to attend.
Talking about research and statistics, what's the latest in terms of the malnutrition? How are we even doing as a country? Let's make it country specific. Yes. How are we doing in terms of nutrition, malnutrition? For which reason you even want to identify the challenges and proffer solutions to fix it? Prof, you want to take that from me?
Yes, thank you very much for that. Well, you know, I mentioned the Scaling Up Nutrition Program. And if you recall, at the time when the Honorable Kofi Annan was the Secretary General of the United Nations, they actually came up with the Millennium Development Goals. Yes. The idea being that by 2015, we would have reduced the state of malnutrition, underweight, stunting, and other things by a certain amount. And then as we transitioned into the 2000s, the Sustainable Development Goals have now become the focus. And by 2030, we have a target. The good news is that on the malnutrition front, for instance, things like underweight, Ghana has been doing quite well in terms of reducing the levels from, say, the levels we had in 1990 and so on. Stunting is still a problem. And the reason we are concerned about stunting is that even though we have reduced the stunting rates by anything between 8 to 10% from the 1990 levels, it's still too high for us. You know, we're talking about something between 17 and 19%, but it's
in terms of underweight.
Yeah, no, stunting.
Stunting, right?
Yeah, but then if you go to certain parts of, for example, in Ghana, you go to the northern parts of the country, we have about 27%.
That's high.
Exactly. So it means that we need to look at the ecological zones, to look at specific issues that relate to these areas and how we can reduce them. Now, in the days when I was a student, we had these nutrition rehabilitation centers around the country where children with severe malnutrition were treated. The good news is that over the years, because of improvements in the way we manage malnutrition, there has been a scaling down of those, and now we don't talk about the nutrition rehab centers, but we have community-based kind of programs that are aimed at improving nutrition for young children and so on. And all these are helping to reduce the rate of malnutrition. That said, we want to have a zero level of undernutrition, of stunting, and so on. I mentioned stunting in particular because, you see, the problem is that what happens in early life, in fact, even pre-early life, pre-pregnancy in the woman, and what happens during pregnancy in terms of the nutrition of the mother has direct implications on the outcome in terms of this thing. And then the early feeding and all those things and their interaction with the environment, their health, infections, all those things can actually add up. And a child who is undernourished at birth, as an adult, is at higher risk of developing chronic disease.
I was leaning towards mental health issues because there was a research I read up on about how your nutrition is connected to your mental prowess, you know. So
that is also part of it. So when we talk of chronic diseases include mental health, you know, the diabetes, and the cancers and so on. You know, because the risk is that as a result of the early life experiences, we develop a certain level of resilience. It is called nutritional adaptation.
Yes.
And later in life, because of that, you know, we complain about energy in this country. Energy is the single most important currency in any aspect of anything we do, including life. Yeah. And so if you learn how to conserve energy better, then when you have plenty of it, what happens? You conserve more and then you put on weight.
Okay.
And then obesity, and then all those other problems that are related to it.
Prof, if I leave you.
I would like to add something.
But I want, okay.
That, see, currently, globally, nutrition is not just a health and well-being issue, but a developmental issue.
Yes.
If you are poor, if you are first hungry, you are weak, you are likely to be poor, and you are going to remain poor for a long time. Countries that have solved the problem of nutrition and food security, they have enough time to handle issues that deals with development. So that is the key now. Let's solve our nutrition and food challenges. Then we set up the foundation to shoot up, to develop.
Reverend, for those watching us who might want to attend, but we'll come to them in a bit, who might not be able to attend, what will be that key message that they can take away from you? You're a research fellow, a senior research fellow.
Yes.
In terms of how we can mitigate the effect of malnutrition and all this. What is that one message that you think would help someone watching us right now?
Let me put it this way, very simple. You are what you eat. Watch what you eat. Seek information and eat better.
I like that. You are what you eat, watch what you eat, seek information, and eat better.
Exactly.
Thank you. Prof, what would you add to that?
Well, I'll add to that we need to start growing what we eat.
Okay.
Because some of our problems also relate to, for example, foods that we import, ultra-processed foods, the biscuits and all these confectionaries and other things that are imported that are very high in sugar and fat. We have to learn to grow our own food. We have to learn community-based and home-based agriculture, and we have to learn school-based agriculture. Let me just add finally that in relation to the pre-conference that a Reverend talked about, one of them is the School Health and Nutrition Consortium of Africa that has decided to come and have their workshops alongside the African Nutrition Conference.
Okay.
And that tells you about the importance of all these things. And school health and nutrition is one of the things. I want to just say, in my passing comment,
your final word for me. Yeah.
We should promote school-based agriculture to support the school feeding program and to reduce the problems of nutrition in our schools.
We used to do that, you know, backyard gardening. These days, nobody's doing that. Reverend, you wanted
yes,
to add
I want
something
to add
briefly?
Here that the conference is hosted by the Ghana Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They are hosting it in country. Okay. We have special guests. The First Lady has been selected to, yes, she's the patron of the Ghana Academy. And also we have Professor, the former president, Ufo, as the ambassador for this conference. I need that. I need people to know this.
I wish you all the very best. And please do well to attend if you can. It's the 9th Africa Nutrition Conference 2024 from the 7th to 11th of October at Cape Coast, University of Cape Coast, on the theme, Food and Nutrition in a Changing World, Implications for Nutrition Security and Health in Africa. And to get into the people who helped us get into this conversation, Reverend Dr. Tom Indanu. He's a senior research fellow of University of Ghana Dental School and a member of the Board of Trustees for ANS, that is the African Nutrition Society. And then we also had Professor Paul Amuna from the Department of Family and Community Health, University of Health and Allied Sciences. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for
right. Let's take a brief. Let's take a break. We'll return and wrap up in a bit. We're about wrapping up, but when I was in high school, at the end of the semester or the term, my headmistress would say, all too soon, we've come to the end of the show, and we all in our head say, please, we haven't, it's not too soon. Benjamin Akapo.
It's been 4 hours. Mini too soon.
Yes.
Share. We've done our bit. It's been another exciting day, exciting Friday. But I want to shout the gentleman who always decks me up like this. You know, today we could have had one designer. But Zero Africa got me looking all fine this morning. I want to shout him out. If you're on Facebook, Instagram, or Pinterest, it is at Zero-Africa. Buddha Zero is doing amazing things. And his prices are so good. You will not get prices like his out there. Men's shirts, go to him. His phone number, 0557 029 138. 0557 029 138. And that's how
Zero copied me all the way to the zipper. Look at the zipper. But thank you, folks. This is our show for the week, and we're back on your screens on Monday with more on the AM show. It's bye for now. Mwah.